This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. Take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's like I'm moving through a timeless storm, trying to find a new place to go. Need to live here immediately. Time for some new scenery. I can't seem to shake it. I don't wanna stay. I know it's time for me to find my way. Maybe another galaxy. So stop talking, get the walking, 'cause I would like to know if you like to go and we can meet if so. 'Cause I ain't never been there before, but if you don't want to, I'll still be fond of you. Just promise me that you ain't gonna have no problems, 'cause my Virgo heart's back on back in time. Gotta spread my wings and fly. My Virgo heart living inside my mind, and I don't wanna waste no more time. My Virgo heart just wanna be free. Said I gotta do this and me, but I don't want no problems. Don't want no problems. So sick and tired of going through this heat. I pray to God that I would face my feet, straighten up my attitude. Emotions off my shoulders, got something to prove. I'm feeling desperate because I know that I'm living in the twilight zone. So I'm not letting down my guard. I'm keep on reaching, but I would like to know if you like to go and we can meet if so. 'Cause I ain't never been there before, but if you don't want to, I'll still be fond of you. Just promise me that you ain't gonna have no problems, 'cause my Virgo heart's back on back in time. Gotta spread my wings and fly. My Virgo heart living inside my mind, and I don't wanna waste no more time. My Virgo heart just wanna be free. Said I gotta do this and me, but I don't want no problems. Don't want no problems. So here I go, leaving behind the past, toward the future, no looking back. I'm on a mission and I cannot fail. No, I'm not a loser, so I will excel. I can't wait to see what's on the other side. Maybe complicated, but I will survive. Just curious to see what you gon' do. I know you gon' miss me, I'ma miss you too. But I would like to know if you like to go and we can meet if so. 'Cause I ain't never been there before, but if you don't want to, I'll still be fond of you. Just promise me that you ain't gonna have no problems, 'cause my Virgo heart's back on back in time. Gotta spread my wings and fly. My Virgo heart living inside my mind, and I don't wanna waste no more time. My Virgo heart just wanna be free. Said I gotta do this and me, but I don't want no problems. Don't want no problems.
Peace, peace, family. Peace, the east, the west, and the north, and the south. Welcome to Aquarius Rising, the ninth gate. On Thursday, our regular Thursday night at 9 p.m. I'm grateful that you're joining us today. If you did not know who that young lady is, that is part of our famille, that is CIA Rebel. It's the Earths in the house, I know that you're here. Earth signs are in their position right now. So for all the Virgos, that song was for you, Virgo Heart. It's a beautiful song. And every time she sings it, I'm enamored. Okay, so I want to make sure everything is on in the chat. Can everyone in the chat that you can see me and you can actually say something? Hold on. Sometimes the chat, sometimes I have to make sure. Okay, so I think the chat is up and working. We've got Cypher in the house and we've got Patreon in the house. Welcome, welcome everyone. This is an interesting conversation and it's very relative. Hey, Jazz from Jazz Washington's in the house. So before I get started, I guess we should go into current news. Some interesting news that is still, I think I've discussed it a little bit before and touched on it. You know, hold on, let me turn my laptop off. The observatory that was in New Mexico was shut down. Not only was it shut down, everything in and around it was shut down as well. Hey, Cadillac, including all office buildings around the facility, all footage, all cameras were shut down. Everything was closed around this New Mexico solar observatory. But what was very interesting with this one is not only was that observatory shut down, but there were about 5 others. There's 6, I think there's 6 or 7 in total, but 5 other conservatories that were not in the same locale in all different regions globally were also shut down at the same time. Now, what's interesting is the cover-up story that they're putting out there as a smokescreen. I don't know if anybody listened to Drake, as Drake did a little after promo on this. Apparently, the cover story is there was a janitor who was a perv who was looking at child pornography via internet or on his cellular phone, which apparently warranted for CIA, FBI, governmental officials to shut down an entire observatory, including all footage that had nothing to do with child porn, and also for other observatories that had nothing to do with this perv's, a fascination with children, which if he did that, he's a demon. But listen to the fabricated smokescreen story that they're deciding to put out there in a way to cover up whatever it is that they're seeing out in the observatory, which is interesting. Let me say this. No one's stupid. And the fact of the matter is many of us are far more awake than they would like. And that those BS stories that a lot of the news coverage is putting out there is not really fazing us. So they can put as many bogus coverage stories as much as they want. But at the end of the day, it will not fly. And meaning that we won't go for the okie doke anymore. We did not sip the Kool-Aid, and nor are we following nature not. Well, at least most of us. At least I hope not. Also, we've had a series of over 200 earthquakes in a 72-hour period. We are in full pole shift mode. I just want to keep you updated on that. We're getting rocking and rolling. Just previous to this show coming on tonight, I was going to my little one's open house and I came home and the lights were flickering on and off. So the whole block was down. So don't be shocked tonight. Cadillac, it's mad. It's a lot of earthquakes. All of our whole neighborhood, all the lights went off. So don't be shocked if the show is shut down. Because even, Kirk was like, he was like, what's up with that? He was like, right before the show, the lights flickered because I was out, and then the lights were turning on and off, and then they were off for like maybe a minute or two, and then they came back. So don't be surprised if the lights turn off. It doesn't matter. It's not going to stop the show because I have extra Wi-Fi, so it'll be fine. I'm over here burning my sandalwood. Big up to the travelers. Let me give a shout out to all those traveling to the other timelines. I'm meeting some of you in the astral planes and in the ether. Big up to the travelers who decided to do the traveling mantra for 13 days where we're traveling to another timeline. I personally really appreciate the timeline I'm at right now. My timeline is thebomb.com. In my timeline, my mother is well. I'm gratefully that she's well. In my timeline, my mother is recovering faster than in the previous timeline. In my timeline, my mate is rejudging my entire house without invocation. In my timeline, my little ones are happy and pleased to just be around. I'm appreciating my timeline right now. You know, if I wasn't traveling, listen, I'm so grateful for the timeline that I'm at right now. If it goes any further up, I might be floating. So big into the floaters. I got sandalwood burning right now. I got some lime in my, my moringa Sarasop tea, which I'm loving right now. I made this. I'm drinking that. I was listening to the birds and so on this morning with the water. This traveling is off the hook. Some of you are traveling to Cuba. I saw one of the young ladies saying they were in Cuba. Was that Cheryl? Cheryl said she was in Cuba in an old car. In her travels, it's a beautiful time. So no further ado, let's get into the conversation tonight. Remember, we're getting to my phone, family. My phone is flashing right now. We got a lot of kinetic energy going on. My phone is right now flashing. Hold on. Okay. Paranormal things going on. Apparently the topic about demonic possession, it freaks a lot of people out. I think most people, even in ET community, they'll talk about ETs all day. A lot of people veer away from talking or even acknowledging demonic possession. Okay? So I wanted to talk and discuss about demonic possession versus gray overlays, which are the gray holograms that come out of people's phones that are infecting people's subconscious. Okay? So we got a lot going on. And remember, Halloween is coming. And if many of you metaphysical and spiritual nistas and nistos understand, is that during Halloween is during the time is when all the occultists bring out all their everything, cookies and candies out of their bags, because this is the biggest occult ritual time of year other than Esther time. Okay? So why is this the harvesting time? This is a time that all comes about. Hey, Selma, Mama Cakes, my fellow traveler. I'm sorry. This is the time where most beings will harvest the fruits of their labor, and it's including dark arts. I appreciate Halloween. Don't you care? Like me and Kirk are gonna go to Universal this weekend to after dark Halloween. I love it over here at Universal. We're gonna do the whole Halloween. Hey Bon Noble. We're gonna do the whole haunted Halloween thing. We did it last year. We had a ball. It was cool. They were doing the purge outside. They had a school bus cutting people. They were, I'm about that life. So anyway, this is a time of year that many rituals will be conducted, and many will reap the fruits of their labors in all aspects of the occult, spirituality, and what have you, and just in life. And also at Halloween on the 31st, which is an inverted, listen, the 31st is the inverted 13. If you don't know, now you know. So on that day, actually at midnight, is when the veil is absolutely almost so thin. Actually, you probably won't have a veil this year. That most interactions with your ancestors or spirits on the other side are so easy to do and to have, that this is a time that most will create openings for dark demons to come onto the earth. Most possessions usually happen around that time. Most children are usually murdered on Halloween, and then the harvest is done on the 1st, where they consume the flesh of the children. I'm keeping it real because this is what it's about. It's not all dastardly, but there's some dastardly beings living here, some diabolical beings living here doing some diabolical things. But this, for the light workers or those beings doing really positive work, will reap the benefits of what they do ritualistically or anything they do just anyway. Okay? So on the 31st, which is an inverted 13, there will be a probably most sacrificial day, and a lot of occultists will be doing things. And I always tell people, if you have loved ones, if you have people that you want to contact, Like I contacted my dad, which my dad has always been around since he's passed. He's not been, when my mother was very sick on the other side, him and my mother were hanging out. And I'd actually go into ether and see them together. Even though my mom was living in the hospital, my dad was with her every day in the ether. So I'd go and visit both my parents in the ether. It was the coolest thing in the world to see them sitting down, chilling, like in a waiting room, waiting for my mother to recover so that she could leave. So he kept her company. I really enjoyed that. But during Halloween is a time, if you have a parent who's passed, if you have siblings who've passed, a child who's passed, loved ones, friends, family, this is the time that you will be able to contact them so easily, it will take your breath away. And if you do it mindfully and under a good guide, if you're not able to do it, I always believe in doing it yourself. I'm not a fan of going to third-party practitioners because I feel like there is a little way for people to incept on your perception of things, unless they're phenomenal. If you get a clairvoyant channeler, I don't believe in channeling because demonic possession, but someone who brings spirits to them, I feel it can be, it could be beneficial if they have a reputation, they have integrity, in a spiritual community of doing so and doing it successfully. Okay, so this is a time for that. Now, why this conversation becomes very relative is because we're getting close to that time. Remember, October's right upon us. We've got the fall equinox, big up to the fall equinox coming into the mix, coming in a few days. And we are entering that space and time where spirits, incarnates, demons, otherworldly beings will have access to people who are highly unaware. There are walking avatars here that are literally inhabited by demons. You see them walking, you think that they're people, and there's zero soul or spirit in that avatar. They are beings that have come here and possessed a body, and they are walking, talking, and moving around you as if they are from here. And they are just forms of other beings that have taken over a body. Okay? A lot of times, usually when they do it, it's very difficult for them to take over too long. So how it shows up usually is through sickness and ailments. Okay, parts of possession usually start off with physical ailments that are usually the first sign of possession. Okay, physical ailments can go anywhere from a toe ache, headaches, dry mouth, achy. Most common symptom of possession usually starts off with achiness. Okay, achiness in places that you normally don't have problems normally with. Okay, and then it usually progresses to the point where they're breaking down. Remember, a being that's sitting on top of your auric field or permeating through holes, little holes into your oh yes, Venus retrograde shadowing period. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, Cadillac. We didn't take that in consideration. Venus in retrograde shadow time. There's going to be a lot of savagery right now. Okay? Savagery. So watch, be mindful. A lot of us are traveling anyway. We kind of knew this was happening. For all y'all traveling to the higher dimensions, we already knew, maybe subconsciously, that this was coming. So that's why we took ourselves and we said, you know what? Bump this. I'm about to go to the higher fields of timelines because it's about to get real bouty in the lower mix of the matrix right now. Okay, so make sure you're observing and not incorporating yourself in anything outside of yourself that is not your business or is negative. Okay, if it's not about you, observe from a distance and keep it moving. Okay, so we have beings that are here trying to inhabit people. And first I'll go into certain things that make it much more easily permissible for beings to permeate into you and for one to get possessed. Like I said, it's a process that happens, but because of the drug, the heightened amount of prescription drug push, and everybody taking all kinds of K2, Flocka, lean, Hennessy. What is it? With the heightened amount of alcoholism. Alcoholism is wine and spirits. You already know, family. If you have to listen, my mother used to tell me, listen to what my mother said when I was dating. She said, never date a man who can't not drink. Listen, who can't not drink, and who only always drinks. So she said, don't listen to the craziness, because you have to listen to what she says. Don't stay away from men who can't not drink. Can't not drink, and those who can't drink. Okay, well, no. Can't not drink, and those who can't drink or won't or can't drink or something like that. The other one didn't matter. Can't not drink was a crazy thing because it's like a double negative. What she meant is that there are people here who have a high sensitivity, especially the native indigenous. You know this already. Many of you know who are most of the brown people who are from the United States of America, Central, South, and North America, are all indigenous, have mostly indigenous bloodline, and it makes them more susceptible for alcoholism. And alcoholism in itself is an allergy to distilled sugar, to the processing of that sugar. They can't handle the distilled version of sugar. And what it does, the side effect is euphoria. And then because it's such a heightened euphoria that they get, it becomes they're more heightened for the prospect of addiction. Okay? So you have a host of people who are engaged in alcoholism to the heightened degree. Even when you watch TV, I was watching, reality shows I had been watching since Real World. I'm telling you my age, because I knew some of the cast members of Real World, the original Real World, including Heather B. Big up to Heather B. Which many of you know on the radio right now. Heather B, she's from Jersey. She's straight up Jersey. So Heather B was on one of the original, Real World. But one of the things that I noted from knowing some cast members on the original Real World is that when they did, and that's from MTV. If anybody doesn't know the Real World, that was the first original, live reality TV. Started with reality TV is the Real World was the first reality TV, and it started on MTV. Okay, and from the cast members that I knew, Becky was one of the other ones I knew. Becky, hey Jay Flower, Becky actually, and Heather B were on the show. They told the one thing they were telling everyone is that they were distributing alcohol on the sets of these shows to make people looser, make them more talk, make them more permissible to, make them more permissible to be engaged in conversations or sexuality that they normally wouldn't do, because it takes down your anxiety. It also lowers your it just lowers your field, so it allows for you to do things that normally you wouldn't do if you were sober. Okay, so they were basically drunken people up. Drunken. That's not a word. I just made that up. Drunken people up. Okay, so why they do that is because it makes you more susceptible to a certain kind of infiltration as well. Okay, and inhibitions. Thank you, Jazz. Jazz had the right word. Inhibitions. It lowers your inhibitions. Thank you. Absolutely. And because of this, a lot of times you'll see, even in the culture of the culture now, I've gone out with so many people, and the first thing they tell me is they want to get turned up. And, me being a little more seasoned, I know I look like a youngin', but when I go out and I hear terms like what do you mean by turn up? What you mean by turn up? They literally mean they want to get so lifted that they're not even present at that point. And when you're drinking, every time you drink, there are beings that sit outside of your field waiting, like parasites, like vampiric parasites, waiting for your auric field to get lessened so they can feed off of you. Because a lot of them used to be rogue alcoholics themselves that have not moved on to the light. Hey, M. Dot For some reason, I can only watch on desktop, not app. It's okay. I'm sorry. Remember, I don't know what's going on with the computer. I'm the least savvy computer person that you'll ever meet. I'm analog who's been upgraded to digital, but I still am an analog in my concept in my mind. So you have people walking around. I remember Sylvia Browne. If some of you come, I don't know. It keeps shutting down. I don't know why though. No, I know. I don't know if it's it could just be something from the, it could be from the Wi-Fi itself. It's on now. It's on. I think it's on now. Okay, it's on. Thank you. Okay. All right. Can you guys see me? Can you see me? Okay, you're back. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to ask Kirk if something was on inside. Okay. See what happens? You bring up something. You see me now? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So, I was bringing up Sylvia Browne. And one of the things that Sylvia Browne said on the Montel Williams show, she was a huge psychic from back in the days. When many of you know Montel Williams, he used to have a talk show. She was talking about the fact that she would never want to walk past a bar. A lot of psychics, Elisa, they said, "What's up, Kirk?" A lot of psychics would say, according to Sylvia Browne, especially her, she said she would not like to walk past any bars or within a bar perimeter, because she said she would be bombarded by spirits that would try to hover on top of her, like jump on top of her, because all inside of bars are incarnated and low field alcoholics and addicted beings that have not moved on. So all they do is stick around those type of low vibrational places where people engage in acts that they used to engage with, so that they can feed parasitically off them. So as soon as someone has a drink in a bar, there are 20 or 30 beings sitting there waiting for their auric field to get lessened, so they can sit on top of them, so close to them, and feed on them to get some of that, and that inebriated feeling that they used to get when they were drinking. Okay, so we talk about that aspect that Sylvia Browne brought up, but let's talk about the fact of the matter is, if you're a daily, a formal alcoholic who is drinking daily, who has a problem not drinking, okay, and then you have your auric field, which gets lessened. Remember, alcohol breaks down your auric field. That's how people make it. That's why it's called wine and spirits, because you can communicate with spirits, because you're lowering your auric field. You're actually opening up a kind of vortex within your auric field, allowing permissibility to have interaction with other beings. And every time you do it, you lower your protection, your auric field, which is your protection. That's if it's sealed properly and it's healthy. It can exude as far as 20, 30 feet. The most godly type of, shaman type of beings always talk about their auric fields go so far beyond them that people feel them before they actually come into a certain perimeter. Okay, so you have these type of low field incarnate or demonic type beings that sit outside your auric field and wait to feed on you, and all you have to do is perpetually lower your spiritual immune system to allow for susceptibility of these beings to get into your auric field. And eventually, when they attach, like a tick, once they attach and they get a sucker into one of your holes in your auric field, and they're sucking, they will attach like a tick, and you'll start to get ticks. Sometimes jizzes, bone, like I said, the most notable first signs of possession or beings connected to your auric field is aches and pains. For some reason, that's the first thing you feel when you're starting to get inception. And then other things like I just did, the itching. Itching is another thing. A lot of beings that get possessed, they're always scratching at their skin, right? They're always, because that's a part of the agitation. It's like, because things are too close to you and they're on you, you feel like things are crawling on your skin. So a lot of itching, right? Crack does that. That's why crack, you see a lot of this itching all over the place. You see people on heroin always going like this. They're always going like this on themselves. That's part of the possession. They got beings on them, messing with them. They can feel the permeations into them. Okay. Another thing is drug addiction, as you know. A lot of people didn't realize when you see old movies with The Exorcist or the most modern Exorcist, when you see people's bodies contorting, like their mouths opening in wild ways, or you'll see people on Flacca or K2, and you see their bodies contorting, or they're walking like bugs backwards, and their heads are turned. In Exorcist, what did she do? She turned her head completely around, that contortion. Why that happens is because these beings have never been in bodies. So they don't have any natural cues. These are not babies, beings attached to the babies and being born and learning movement and how they feel. What it is these are beings that have never been in body. So when they get in the body, they don't have a natural movement because they're in an avatar that it's like you going into a donkey's body or into a monkey's body or like a zebra's body. You wouldn't know how to move. You wouldn't know how to move your arms or legs. So when you get in that body, you would have to acclimate. So your movements will look real glitchy, off, unnatural. That's where you get all these people contorting when you see them on Flacca. Okay? Flacca, you see it a lot of times. They start doing weird movements and things like that because these, again, are spirits that have not, and I don't want to call them spirits because they're really not. A lot of them are low-field parasites that live in 4D. Not 4D, and like 2D. Some of them are like from 2D. And they've gained enough energy from feeding off a lot of alcoholics and low field behaviors that they've gained more power to go to higher levels, to attach to higher level beings, maybe in 3D and 4D. Okay. And they utilize the fact that these catalysts as alcohol and drugs to allow for the permeations into your auric field via little holes that show up in there that allow for attachment, so they can suck on you until they break your immune system down enough that they can actually get into your mind state. Okay? That's when you have full-on possession. Now, full-on possession takes a minute, but because we're going into higher realms, the higher level, higher devil, okay, you have beings that are a little more, much more aware. And because they're much more aware, what are the signs from smoking weed? I'm sorry. Weed is one of those things that I take issue with. Why? Is because smoking it, and you hear me say it all the time, weed itself is a wonderful herb. A lot of the galactics like marijuana, the original hemp, okay? The original marijuana. The issue I take with the procreational use of weed is because a lot of people here change the molecular structure. It's just like people who cook cocaine and turn it into crack. You change a molecular structure of something, it now changes its purpose. If you burn something, you no longer have a herb, you have a whole chemical that's coming from the herb, but it's no longer the herb in itself. It is changed. So I always tell people, if you're going to engage with something like marijuana, chief it. I like to say chief. That's what we say in New York. When you chief, you are causing more issues, and also you break down your auric field. I told you, there was a man who, some of you know, who was soliciting to me, and we used to hang out. And I remember going to go see him, and we were chilling. I never said that I don't smoke. I don't smoke now, but I've smoked in the past, many years ago. It's not a big deal. I've smoked before. I'm not oblivious to what marijuana is. I'm not talking from a position of never having marijuana. I have before, but I remember going out with this gentleman. He's real cool. He was into, he was real, was zenned out. It was kind of like a Yoga Tom type, chill though. And we were chilling the whole day. It was beautiful. We chilled out. We went so many places, and it couldn't have been a better day. And then all of a sudden, he was like, "Yo, you mind if I smoke?" And I was like, if you're going to smoke, do you. You know, I don't have a problem. That's what you want to do. I don't really judge smokers like that because a lot of people I know chief. Most of the people I know chief. Okay. So I don't really judge him like that. But as soon as he chiefed, the air around him changed. You could feel the kinetic air change. And his character changed. His whole personality shifted from being a really easygoing, chilled out, wonderful, holistic type being to something that was a little lower in frequency, less permissible, and not in my frequency and desire of being around them anymore. Okay? So I noticed that the energy changed before he even smoked. The intent was already in the air. So before he smoked, remember, past, present, and future all overlap. So though he didn't do it yet, I felt it previous to him doing it. Okay? And then when he did it, I noticed that I wasn't able to sit and tolerate him as much. I felt my whole enamored, how enamored I was with him previous to him smoking, totally shifted, and I didn't really have a because I'm very animal. I tell you, everyone, I'm a savage. I'm joking. I have savage-like behavior. I'm a little animalistic when it comes to males, and I'm real. If you watch Species, you can learn a little bit something about Fleur Brune. I'll keep it real with you, and it's a shadow. I'm okay to say I'm very primal and very animalistic in how I am with males. And once a male does something that's not permissible for mating for me, I lose interest, especially if it's not. And it's sad, but what it is that if someone's soliciting for mating, and that's what I'm there to see if they're, if they're appropriate for mating, as soon as they do something that breaks the kinetic connection or disallows me from thinking that's a healthy partner to perhaps have offspring with, I don't really like them anymore. It's not shallow. It's just a healthy disposition. As soon as a male does something unhealthy, I have little to no attraction to him anymore, and I'll keep it moving. So him smoking weed made him not permissible for me to even want to mate with him, to even make it to the point where, this would be a potentiality for a mate or a potential father of my child. Okay. People are like, well, not everybody you get with, are we wanting to have children with, but every partner you get with, you should treat them like they're going to be your future father of your child or mother of your child. And if you do that, everything you do will be more astute. That's just how I roll. Call it savage, call it animalistic, but that's just how I roll. But marijuana should not be smoked and burned. If you are to consume or chief, I am a fan of those who use with the bongs, the smudging bongs. What are they called? What is it called? I forgot what it's called. They're like bongs, but they're steamers. Okay, I forgot what they're called. You see them a lot in Amsterdam. Where else? France, they have them. I don't know what other countries they have. They have them here in New York City. I've seen them before. I'm a fan of those because it steams the marijuana, and it actually doesn't break it down and change it. It leaves it in like a tea, like almost like a steam, like a herb that you would steam, like that. Okay. I appreciate that. I think vape does that too. I think vape is the concept, right? Vape is kind of like that. It's vapors. I'm assuming vape is like that. So I'm okay with that type because I feel like it's a little healthier, okay, than burning it and just changing the molecular structure. Bowls, Gato, I think it is. I don't know it's cool though. It's like a steamer. And I've seen it in Europe, but they have it and it's wonderful. And you remember how I know marijuana is that I'll make essential oils with marijuana. I'll also make creams for arthritis with marijuana. My previous boyfriend, when I was younger, his aunt was from Jamaica. She was like 99. She gave me, I think I told you, she used to put marijuana seeds inside of overproof rum. And she used to leave it for years. And when I had a fever, she gave to my mother this little concoction that had been sitting for, I think she said hers was 20 years old. and it was only a little bit, they use it in little bits and pieces. You don't have to use it. And she said I would hallucinate about seeing white men in my room. That's what she said. I'll see hallucinations. And my mother put it on my feet in a cloth, and my fever broke with I think it was less than 6 hours. But I hallucinated a little bit. I saw white men. I don't know why white men were, white men, not lunars, white men were in my room when she put it on my feet. But it broke the fever. So marijuana is meant to have medicinal purposes, and that's the only way you should use it. You should never overutilize anything. Balance is key. If you're smoking every day, you already know your auric field is breaking down, okay? And talk to smokers who smoke a lot, and they will tell you the same, okay? Because if you talk to anyone, it's the same with coffee. If I'm drinking caffeine, remember, I've stopped drinking caffeine. I still drink decaffeinated coffee, which is in no means stopping coffee, but I stopped drinking caffeine, over 2 months now. I think the last time, even before the conference, I wasn't drinking coffee. I was drinking decaf. I feel so much better, okay? Because that kind of addiction is low field, and it allows for unhealthy behavior to attract unhealthy beings and unhealthy things to your auric field, okay? So, how about, okay, so we talked about possession, okay? So we have possession, we have beings that are inhabiting people's bodies and possession. I've seen, just recently, listen, I meet a lot of beings. Just recently I met, someone who was possessed, who was experiencing some, possession, and also they get into your mind. When you're possessed, the being that's possessing you or the entity that's attaching to you will also put dirty thoughts in your mind. That'll make you think dirty things. It'll make you think about killing people, murdering animals, molesting children. That's how you know you have an attachment, because these thoughts are coming from outside of you and they're not within your normality of what you think about. You'll have thoughts that you can't even control, and you don't know where they're coming from. You just think it's you having really perverted thoughts and patterns, but meanwhile you don't realize there's an entity lying on the outside of your brain, your mind space, who's whispering like an archon in your ear, telling you to kill people, telling you to molest children, telling you to masturbate publicly, telling you to have unnatural sex with all kinds of people. It'll do all types of things that are absolutely going to create more havoc and more cause more disharmony in your life, so that it will further lower your immune system and your aura, and lower it, making you more susceptible for them to come deeper and deeper until they get inside of you. Now, usually with possessions, once they get inside of you, they usually kill you, because another being coming inside of you will lower your immune system so much. By the time they can fully take over the vessel, they usually will kill you. A lot of times you'll see possession, like even in Exorcist. When they were in Reagan, they started off, she couldn't eat, she had a feeding tube. They're so messed up because they don't have a concept. They're not human. So they're in a body, and all they're doing is depriving the body of natural human things. They don't have the need to eat. They don't have a need to do normal things. So what they do is they bring a field of unnaturalness to you, and it will eventually break down your immune system so much that your organs will shut down, and eventually you die, unless you get some form of exorcism or you're able to expel this entity. And usually when they're so far inside of you, you need to go and seek professionals that actually know. Old pagans, old witches usually know what to do. Old priests. They have a sect of, the Catholic Church who does purely studies on exorcisms. And I will say that, as non-Christian based as I am, they have some of the most phenomenal resources for getting rid of entities out of people's bodies, more so than most. You usually have witch doctors who are able to expel entities. You have to go to old professionals that actually have dealt with this type of infiltration. And again, depending on the level of the demon or the being inside of you, will determine the type of modalities and tools necessary to actually expel it. Okay, but once it's so far in you to where you're getting very sick, it's a testament that it might be irreversible if not dealt with. It's almost like getting, cancer at the beginning and cancer at the end. If you catch it at the beginning, it's easy to remedy it and go through the process of kind of healing yourself. But when you get it at the end, when it's terminal, it's kind of like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Okay, so you have to be very mindful. Now, another form of possession, which I'll talk about. Hey, Bodica. Another type of possession, which I know people don't want to hear about, but it's important. And I talk to you, Sea Stars, all the time about being careful of the men that you have sex with, because there's another type of demonic possession and attachment that happens in your womb. Okay. And some of you have actually seen, I think we've had some on, we've seen some pictures on Cypher. This is back when Cypher first started. I think we had 1 or 2 pictures of babies, and there were demons inside of the woman's womb already attached to the babies. Usually these are generational curse demons that are passed amongst certain beings from a certain lineage. A lot of Draconians have this. They have these type of demonic entities that automatically attach to that lineage by blood in, blood out kind of thing. They attach via that. Or you have people who will create, they will hex or curse a person who's pregnant based on, maybe jealousy or what have you. So you have those who are deep into Santeria, Ohobia, Zhongage, Voodoo, that actually curse people, and they will attach demons to this offspring to cause havoc. And what happens sometimes is the baby comes out sick, but it will come out with an attachment. And a lot of times when that baby comes out, if the entity is latched on to their aura, it may sometimes kill the soul imprint inside the baby and take over the entire baby. And that's when you get movies like Death Seed or Dark Seed, or these demonic seedlings, and these children come born. A lot of the satanic cult children come with these attachments, and usually the sacrifices of the babies usually lead to another baby coming into a womb that a woman has sacrificed her child and taking over the baby that's already in womb. Okay, and that comes with satanic ritualistic type of families and lineage. Okay, so you'll see sometimes the entities actually lying within the womb, and you have to be careful, because sexually transmitted demons will turn out to be sexually transmitted demons in interloping and interceding into the actual gestational process, and actually being able to overlay to the point where they can take over or disperse of a soul and take over and imprint in that child. Okay, so be careful who you lie with, and be careful, because if you're marrying somebody who, if you're having children with somebody who comes from a family of murderers, okay, he may not be a murderer, but he comes from a family of murderers. Families matter. Okay, and people say all day, "Oh, Florbrun, you're so judgmental. All his family members are in jail, in prison for selling drugs, or he's a or his brother murdered people, or his father did that." It's not him. He carries the bloodline of the curse of that type of lineage. So whenever you get involved with somebody who comes from damning type of behavioral patterns, there is a chance that that baby, your offspring, his offspring, are already cursed based on him doing harm. So when you lie with him and create an offspring with him, you're taking on his karmic debt by him inseminating his seed in you, and now you're creating a child who already has a prison sentence for something his lineage had did back in the days. Okay, so you have to be very, very careful of who you lie with, and families matter. People always talk about people who have arranged marriages. I'm not opposed to that as long as there's love involved, because a lot of times you should be mindful, like blood type. I already talked about blood type, but you should be mindful of who you are giving offspring to. If you're having children with someone who comes from a bunch of murderers or drug dealers, then you're going to have a sentence with an offspring that will have the karmic debt of the lineage he or she came from. Okay? And then you have demonic entities attached to that child. And along with that, you're the mother. You end up having the karmic debt of taking care of a child that may turn out to be a spawn of Satan. showing up, killing animals and so on. You think that some of these children, you'll hear sometimes mothers say, I don't know where that happened. It's because she had a demon inside of her womb from messing with a man that probably was not cohesive, or may have had a demon, or she may have been the dark one. And a man is sleeping with her thinking he's got a gem. And meanwhile, she's had sex with numerous very dark men. And her womb has all these sexually transmitted demons just waiting to feed on a new life, a light body. And your child just ends up being that light body. Okay, so that's an I know it's dreary and it's not something I want to talk about, but something you should know, because I want our young star seeds, a young star family, to have as much information. I think that would be informative before you're mating. You know, I think these are things that you should be told previous than you making choices, because I think your choices, if you know better, you do better. Okay, so we have that aspect. Now we're going to go to the overlay grays. We got the overlay grays. Now we have a host of technology, electronics that are everywhere. You got laptops, you got cell phones, you got black mirrors on your walls called television. You got iPads, iPods, you got video games. You got a host of electronics that are all peace. I'm sorry, I'm eating seeded grapes. It's just a process. I'm sorry. You should never chew the seeds because they have a little bit of arsenic inside of them. Okay? Seeds go, but if you don't chew them, you swallow them whole. But if you were like nature not, you just plant your poop on a tree. Anyway, let me stop. dig. We talk about all the electronics that do the same thing as alcohol and drugs. You have low ELF waves coming off of all your electronics. You have all these insidious microwave frequencies coming into you, which, remember, your body is mostly made of water. And if you know that water can be changed, and molecular structure of water can be changed with good frequency, higher frequencies, and lower frequencies. And you know the Japanese scientists who did the whole study, when you say I love you to water, it changes into these beautiful geometric shapes. And then, hey Nunye. And then when you talk very dastardly to water, say I hate you, water, what have you, that water all changes into these jagged edged, non-linear, non-geometrically sound figures, and that, you know, changes the way that it interacts in your body. So if you take that in consideration, if you take that in consideration, and then you take all these ELF waves, low ELF waves, and you take all these microwave frequencies and you place them, because remember, electric frequency is the lowest form. Orgone is high. We don't use orgone energy anymore because we've lowered ourselves. We are out of the field of 5D plus, because that's what they use as orgone energy. We use only electrical energy, and electrical energy is the lowest, most archaic, most most dastardly and most non-cohesive to the body, the biosystem, that it causes a host of issues when it hits your auric field. And perpetual use of these microwave frequencies that are coming from all your electronics will break down your immune system, your spiritual immune system, which is your auric field, and eventually allow for permissibility. Now, many of you already know the stories of all of the massage therapists. It was first covered on Coast to Coast with Art Bell, who he had a host of massage therapists saying that they were going in giving massages to people, and while giving massages to people, you know, normally many of you get massages. When you go in to get a massage, I always turn off my phone, put it on a chair, put it away from me, and then, you know, I nicely enjoy. He said they would turn off their phones inside of the massage room, and all of a sudden a weird sound would come from the phone while they're massaging these people who are laying down in that little hole. You know, you put your face in a hole when you're getting a massage. The person was unaware, and he would hear the massage therapist would hear like a weird screeching sound coming from their cell phone, and then all of a sudden would see a popped out gray hologram come above the person's back as if it was seen. And then as soon as it would see that it's being seen, it would screech and jump right back into the phone, and the phone would make a weird sound, and the phone would be off. And it would scare the whizzes out of people who were the holistic massage therapist. And this became something that became more common, that it was to the point where many realized that the cell phones were the remote controls being used to have overlay holographic grays enter into you. So now you have people walking around with overlay grays on them, controlling their ebbs and flows, and basically being attached to them when we don't even know to the degree and level that they're being automatically reactive. I think a lot of these voters who voted for let me not get political. I was about to say something. Let me leave it alone. Leave it alone. I think a lot of times we have to be careful, because the fact of the matter is overlay grays have been known to attach to people. But let's get a little deeper. The fact of the matter is the grays are from a future of some humans who turned into that. So the theory now amongst some of us who have studied this level of overlay grays is that the lineage of some people is the grays, and the grays are coming back saying, yo, homie, I know you look human, but you're my ancestor. I want some of your genomes, and I need to use you as a human guinea pig so that we can get back some of our human form. So we're going to graft from you. So a lot of these people who say they get abductions and they see grays, the number one thing I see, and I've noted in being in the contactee and abductee community, is that the majority of people who see grays also are alcoholics and do a lot of low field behavior. Not all, but a lot of them. I would say 70 to 80% of people that I know personally that have seen and engaged with grays, that they've seen come into their house and interact with them, are all alcoholics and drug addicts. And I noticed that with the cell phones do to people's auric field just the same as alcohol and drugs does to the auric field, by breaking it down, making people more susceptible to infiltration via whatever avenue it's coming from. So now you have the overlay grays that are utilizing the electrical field, the low field electrical field, to permeate into people's bodies, biosphere, and to the degree that it is controlled. Now the grays will control that avatar. We're not talking about demonics who are not cognizant. These are not, these are incarnate beings. They don't really have a concept of everything. They're savages. They just want to sex. They're savages, kill, murder. That's what those demonic possessions are. Grays are intelligent, subliminal life force forms that know and have some cognitive level of intellect, that they are utilizing these bodies to further maybe make it easier and make it more permissible for them to get access to genomes and gene pool, their gene pool, to take some of that back to the future to try to fix an aspect of themselves, because they lost all their humanity living under the ground after the cataclysm. The grays are those people. So I always take it like this. People who are seeing grays, and I'm not judging everybody who sees grays, because like I said, I talk to a lot of people, but I did note something. And, I like to, as a Sagittarius, I take notes, and I'm good at noticing correlations between certain things that most people wouldn't notice, because I'm a little paranoid. I'm a clinician, but I'm a realist too. So I have a combination platter, which makes me supersede some of those who are just basic, information Nazis. You know what I mean? I see things from all angles, and also I'm a mother. Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry. So I see things from all angles, but I noticed that a lot of people that I talked to, including the one that I was going to interview about, the one who I told you who was getting reptilian, his daughter, I told you she got a internship by NASA. NASA wanted her. It was a father who was a drug dealer. He also was a hyper alcoholic, but he was having interactions regularly with grays. And also he noted that he didn't want to talk about the other ones, which we found out later were reptilians that were also visiting him via his interaction with the grays. Don't governmental agents like Instagram Candy more? Wait. Candy Moore, send grays after you in your sleep. Yes, absolutely, Jay. That's why we make it a point. Don't sleep next to your cell phones. Don't sleep next to your cell phones. Wait, let me say it again. Don't sleep next to your cell phones unless you have. Now, I know people who have, like, if you have the diode board, like, you know what I do? There's times when I put the phone on the floor further away and I put it on the floor on a diode board with my, my shield, one of these. I have these shields. I put it on with my shield and my magnet. If I leave and I fall asleep, I feel okay doing it because I got a diode on the phone. I got a magnet. I got the diode board. I got the whole Monty. But you shouldn't be sleeping anywhere near your cell phone, because at night when you think your phone is off, it's actually transmitting messages subconsciously to you via your sleep state when you're more susceptible to mind control and mind manipulation. And Delbert Blair talked about that before anybody else talked about it. Dr. Delbert Blair told us, he said, listen, he said, you can't turn off your cell phone. He said, the only phone that you can do it, listen, the only phone that is harder to incept is the BlackBerry, which, remember, the presidents use BlackBerries. Still, you don't even see many BlackBerries. Try to buy a BlackBerry. See how much money a BlackBerry costs. BlackBerry phones and Android phones. If you get an iPhone, you cannot turn it off. That's what pissed me off when I got an iPhone, because I realized my Android, one thing I did every night is I detached the battery from my phone. I used to take out the battery from my phone every night so that it was always off, especially if I had private conversations so that nothing was working. The iPhone you cannot take off and you can't look into it. So the iPhone can have little grays up in there, little miniature grays working day and night, waiting to infiltrate your body. Second string attacks against well-protected warriors needs to be addressed. Those attacked much more. Wait, hold on. Hey, Barry Littleton's in the house. Those attacks are much more subtle and often overlooked. I agree. There's a lot of sub-attacks that happen on many levels where they'll send, agents, they'll send little things at people, they'll send low elf, they'll execute low elf waves and direct it at people. They'll have laser waves that are sent into people's houses directed at their head. Like Carrie Cassidy got shot with one of those scalar waves and it messed with the side of her face. I mean, they've done it to me in my head where you feel it on one side of your head. It's harder for them to do. That's why they want many women to strip their hair of melanin. Melanin makes it a little harder for them to get into your hair. And if you have coils and curls, that's why they make it hard for people to have dreadlocks. They don't want people, lunars or brown people, having dreadlocks. It makes it harder for them to get into your head because the coils and that thicker hair protects your skull from not only radiation in the sky, but it protects it from scalar radiation getting and infecting your skull and your brain. So that's why they make it such a hard thing when people try to get jobs with dreadlocks. Whether, like I said, you could be lunar or brown, they don't want you to have dreadlocks. Dreadlocks is very protective for people. How far should a phone be when you sleep? Your phone should be out of your room when you sleep. It should be all the way across the room if you can. Remember, cell phones, the waves that come in are energetic. They're waves. So it doesn't really, if it's in your room, it's going to affect you. Just like if you had a microwave in your room and it's at a far distance, that microwave energy can still, those little isotopes can also affect your body. So if it's in your room at all, it's going to affect you. I always say if you have an alarm clock, get an alarm clock, a nice little old-fashioned alarm clock. They got new alarm clocks that are not even electronic. They're like the old-fashioned alarm clocks. Get one of those. Okay, I'm throwing the whole phone away out the window. Don't do that. Just be proactive. Like I said, I've done my due diligence. I make sure that I have a lot of these, the free shield you can get online. One of these, this usually I have the color. This one's in black and white, but the color one I have on everything else. Yeah, I use everything. I use a magnet. I use a diode board. I use the diode shield. I do it for the babies. I keep everything out the room. I turn everything off. I keep 0 televisions in the living room. I mean, in my bedroom. I have 0 in my bedroom. My bedroom is just basically everything. I keep black mirrors out. I know what world we're living in. So I enjoy my life, but I enjoy it knowing that there are certain things that are unnecessary for me to keep around me if I want to keep healthy. Okay. Carlos is saying the old wind-up clocks are very loud. Yes, they are, Carlos. That's a good idea. And, go to Granny's house. Go in the attics because, my mom, we still have old-fashioned clocks. Use the old-fashioned clocks for alarm clocks. We make it seem like our cell phones are our end-all, be-all. I remember one day I walked outside the house and I forgot my cell phone. And it took me a minute and I said to myself, you know what? Psst. Bump that. I knew where my girls were. That was the biggest thing. As long as my little ones are close and I know, like Mama Bear, as long as I know that my den where my cubs are is safe and they're somewhere safe and I know that for certainty, I left the cell phone and I felt so good. I felt amazing. I felt like, even though people curse me out for not having easy access, listen, my thing is, back in the days, when you call somebody and they weren't home, they weren't home. They call you if they wanted to when they got home from wherever they were in their leisure. We want so much access to everyone and everything all the time. It's unnatural. That's why people are depressed. You're not even happy. Like if someone doesn't text you back in the next 5 minutes, y'all lose your mind. You know how many people curse me out because I don't get back to them via email or text? Because I have a life. Listen, I'm not sitting by my messenger in Facebook waiting for text. You know what I'm saying? I'm a mother. I have a life. People are so used to everything having so much accessibility to everything. It's becoming unnatural. And we're creating a narcissistic society with a lot of sociopaths. And then we take into account the level of addiction to drugs and alcohol, making people possessed with devils. That's what I'm saying. A lot of you are engaged with people that are devils. When I walk around people and you tell me that you can only chill out when you're drinking, I remember going to a movie with a homie. We don't kick it like that anymore. I remember going to a movie because I wanted to see a movie because I'm a movie buff. And we were chilling and she went down. She was like, oh, I'm gonna get some snacks. But I like my own snacks. I bring my own snacks in the movie theaters. Yes, I do. I bring my own healthy snacks in the movie theaters because I like my snacks better than anything I pay there for, like an arm and a foot for. Anyway, don't tell the movie theater I do that because I keep it in my big bag. Pick it to the movie theater. I had my snacks. I'm good. And she went downstairs. She left for like a good 15-20 minutes. She missed some movies. I wasn't missing her. She came back with some liquor, a drink. I don't know if it was a beer. We call liquor punch. Punch. Many of you are French, know what that is. Punch. We call it punch. She came upstairs with some punch. I was like, where did you get drinks from? You couldn't even sit in a movie theater for 2 hours without going to get a drink. Now, we not going to hang out like that anymore. I'm not judging her, but I'm just saying, if you can't even sit, chill. Listen, if she wanted to have a drink afterwards, because we can hang out, I don't mind that. But when you can't even sit down and to a level of relaxing without having an alcoholic beverage comfortably, then there's some issues. I question your ability to, first of all, I question your self-awareness. I know you have an addiction, and I know that there's going to be entities attached to you that are looking for a new host. So they're going to try to attach to me because I have more life force. Okay? So we're going to get in this conversation of possession. I'm going to go to the phone lines in a minute. You know the number, 515-605-9881. Okay? Hold on. Let me get my stuff on. We're going to get into conversation tonight. There's a lot of conversations about this. Are you a Halloween celebrator? Do you celebrate Halloween? Hold on. Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry. Okay. 515-605-9881. If you're going to call in, you have a question now. Listen, I've been getting complaints. Some of y'all like to complain to me. I'm not going to shout you out, but you complain to me and say, yo, Fleur Bruin, people be on there mad long. We don't want them staying on for more than 5 minutes because it's agitating. Okay, listen, family. I understand that you don't like, sometimes if I get somebody on who has some intel, I like to chat it up. And I don't want to make it seem like it's like a job. This is listen, I do this show for reasons of leisure, of interaction and kiki with y'all. It's not that serious. It's a show, but it's our show. All right, so yes, you can call in, and if somebody I spend a little more time because I like the conversation that's going on, just take it easy. You know, chill out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We're on until midnight, so we've got enough time to chop it up. I won't be egregious though. I know a lot of times I could be a little egregious, and I'll stay on a little long. So I will be mindful of that. But a lot of times if we talk to each other, remember, I'm not on main YouTube tonight. We got Patreon in the house and we got Cypher in the house. So for that reason, we could chop it up a little bit. We got Blog Talk in the house too. So we have our other family from Blog Talk. So, you know, just be a little patient and, you know, don't try to get at somebody's throat just because they're trying to talk a little bit and I'm enjoying the conversation. All right. So we're going to get into our calls. Hold on. I already see the phone lines are filling up. I'm just putting on my speaker. Kirk is inside. Kirk is inside watching Black Panther. He didn't see Black Panther, so he's actually inside watching Black Panther right now. When I go inside, he's probably going to be asleep. Big up, Kirk. He probably hears me talking about him. Anyway, all right, so we're going to take the first caller. Okay, the first caller is 903 1174. You're on the line with Fleur Bruin. Peace, family. Peace, family. 903.
Hey, Flores, Wade.
Hey, what's up, Wade? How you doing?
It's Wade.
Peace.
I'm all right.
Good.
I want to just make a comment about the grades coming from the phone.
Yes.
I think I brought this up a while back about with the technology and that we need to get back to our natural roots. That's basically what I was trying to. These beings have been using the technology as portals to come in. That's why we're having so much problem on the planet right now.
That's right.
I don't know what you think about that, but that's going on.
I agree with you. I agree.
It's actually going to get a little worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better. With position that is coming up with the haters and stuff coming out, they're going to be coming in droves.
So what are you saying?
So,
wait. You can't just drop that statement without backing it up. What do you mean they're going to be coming in droves? What happened? So is it something about to happen? Pop off?
Well, darker entities that's going to be coming, it's more the false light. The darker ones is what, like gray reptilians. Mm-hmm. They were basically the first wave, and the second wave is coming in soon. Those will be the most deceptive because it seems so realistic. And they're behind it. So, come in and implement the new society. And like I said, I mean, I'm embracing it because I know it's a challenge, it's a test. This is a training ground. I'll be there, me and other people. And when the time is right, we'll be trying to guide as much people to the path. So, good. I've been talking about right now, the organ.
So
they're going to come and they're going to implement all these fantastical techniques. So sophisticated, it's going to boggle people's minds. You know, it's like Splendor, like people,
well,
when in fact, we already have those abilities inside of us. It's innate. It's all ingrained with, and you need the technology. And that's what's being imposed upon the planet right now. And a lot of people are getting caught into it, but it's gonna be more on a higher level soon. I mean, that's what's about to happen. So we gotta go before we get to the natural path.
But shouldn't we realize that they've
You
set
could go-
they
I mean,
set
on-
they set us up with these movies like V. If anybody remember the movie back in the days, V, and they recreated the movie later on, V meant
Mhm.
for visitors, they already told us that these beings are going to come here. They're going to look like they're human. They're going to bring technology and all this hope. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're diabolical beings that are here as vampiric type of entities trying to put smoke and mirrors in front of us. So we already know we shouldn't fall for the okie doke. So any false flags of ETs coming from space, bringing technology, we're going to stay away from them. Quietly.
Yeah. And you're going to see me interacting because, I mean, I've got Drake on the show. But the thing is, he doesn't know some of the info I know, which I haven't. But I got higher level information that goes beyond all of what that's going to be presented.
No,
Yeah.
do you believe in all the care package?
It's going to get pretty tricky soon.
Do you believe in all the care packages and everything he said? That we're going to have care packages from ET groups? Do you believe that?
Well, according to Drake, that's supposed to be happening soon. I will interact with the beings, but I will not be going down that path. I won't take any of their technology or anything like that. But for other people who want to do that, I'm not going to stop them.
Well, you
And
should have
remember,
to
I told you I'm
discern.
coming from a universe. I'm more of a universal type being. I don't interfere, but I could show people what they need to know, and then let them make their decision. That's the only reason why I'm showing stuff like that, because people need to know different options and where they want to. Because it's a training,
But
so that
isn't
gives people more options. To everybody at the end of the day, everybody will go where they need to go.
mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, some of us on the planet right now, we already been through that. So we're trying to guide people not to make that same mistake. But at the end of the day, if a being to go down the technological path, then that's their journey.
But isn't that the reason why they're
in terms of
isn't that the reason why they're veering people away from the shorelines, from the coastlines, to get them into bigger cities so that they can keep them isolated and in FEMA camps?
Oh, I wouldn't say that was the darker beings of the Illuminati and the house, and they're being taken out right now. But there's a more diabolical being they're gonna see more like angels when they come down. The blue-eyed, blonde, and all them. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
so
pretty tall, and
is it the tall?
it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
wrapped full up.
So you
They're
think?
gonna look pretty angelic. Some of them will be going all, they're gonna look pretty nice, like angelic, but it's pretty diabolical.
Interesting. Well, we will be prepared because our family's been preparing for years now.
I'm one of
So
the beings that won't fear them though. Even though I know who they are, I won't fear them. I'll still interact with them. That's what I'm saying. I'll still talk to them. I have other people that I'm talking to. And we are the originators of this planet. We're the elders of this planet. We helped create this reality. We're going to tell them straight up what the deal is. They're going to perish because we're going to basically deconstruct everything, like I said. So not only is Mother Earth going to activate from the inside out, at a certain point will activate the inside out, and all of this is going to disappear, and that's what's coming. And I say that I remember this stuff and why it was meant finger.
okay. Well, thank you, Wade, bringing some.
So the Matrix goes so deep. In terms of the grades, to get back what I was saying, they're from a parallel reality,
Yes, I know. I did.
not necessarily the future.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
They're from a
remember.
parallel universe.
Well, remember when I
talk.
talk about future. When I talk about future, I say past, present, and future are all
What?
overlapping. So yes, a parallel is also an aspect
Oh,
depending on
okay.
your peripheral. Yeah.
Those were worker guys for these guys that's about to show up.
Okay, so they're the worker bees. Makes
Worker
sense.
guys already did their thing, but these guys now are trying to get rid of them. They actually work. They're in the same bed. See, that's what I'm trying to tell people.
Okay.
They're making it look like, okay, they're getting rid of these guys from the underground base tunnels and all this stuff, when in fact, they both work. They're the same team, but they're making it look like there's two opposing forces going together.
Well, the
when in
same as
fact,
the political
they're the same
system,
thing.
yeah. It's like being Democrat and a Republican.
Yeah,
Same
it's-
overhead, same master is
Yeah.
at the top. Yeah, playing different sides. Absolutely.
So they're both the same, opposite of the same coin, basically.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I'm not saying not to interact with them when they come, but the information I'm sharing with you guys, you will not get anywhere else because there's only a few of us on the planet that know about it right now. And to avoid being taken away by these, because what's going to happen is they're going to create a reality, which is in the process right now. That's what the technology is all about. See, the energy, they're making the energy right for what they're trying to create. So we're going to a slight synthetic with a little period. It's not going to be long. Because remember, I told you Mother Earth, they're trying to suppress that natural flow, that natural energy that's coming up. That's what the whole shuffling and warring that's going on. So we will transition into it's going to be a synthetic reality, another continuation in the Matrix. But at a certain point during that time, and a couple other people, which I'll introduce later on the show, will be in the near future. We will activate, and we're going to dismantle that reality that they're trying to create from the inside out. It's going to be quite a show, actually. But yeah, they're going to calm down and do their thing, and that was part of the setup. It's all a training
All
to see
right.
who goes through and who doesn't.
Well, that's why we watch movies.
So
that's
it's
why.
all more like
That's why we saw. We're
like
prepared.
a test thing.
Yeah, we're prepared. Well, thank you,
We're
Wade.
kind of breaking up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wade 13, for
But-
always bringing intel. I appreciate it.
Okay, so and I want the show that I want to do next. I'm not sure about it yet, but I'm thinking of doing it on the collateral accounts,
Okay.
and that's all part of it. I mean, they're gonna implement a new society, basically. And that's part of it too. But in the bigger scheme of things, humanity, we're supposed to transcend all of that. So all these healing technologies that they're talking about, we won't even need to heal. The reality that I'm talking about goes beyond it.
Well, remember, not everyone's cut from the same cloth, and that's why I had a hard time accepting Drake's theory that everyone's getting care packages and not everybody's going to heaven as opposed to hell. I personally disagree with that. Why? Is because there are beings here that are a different tier and levels of frequency that are not in alignment with that type of abundance. If you've been robbing people for 20 years and you've been lying or raping children for 20 years or 5 years, you are on a different tier and level of frequency, which would disallow you to accept or be even offered that type of abundance. So I disagree. I think his concept gives anonymity to those who do dark things. And I've been on his page, and there's a lot of dark beings on Drake's page that are very racist, speciesism, complexionism type of people who sit there and judge other people of color and have really low field behavioral patterns that I feel that are out of alignment with the intel that is being given personally.
Well, I mean, I disagree with Drake on a lot of things too, I have spoken to him about some of the stuff, but is that on a universal scale, we are becoming a universal
Because
to acknowledge all of it.
because if we're universal and everybody's at the frequency of what they allot, when anybody comes to Cypher, our family, they will see the frequency that we reside at. If I go to your site or what you represent, and every being on your site is vile and in opposition of humanity or in balance of being in unity consciousness, I would question the intel that's coming from the being that has those type of beings following them or aligned with them. That's just me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
But you still, the thing is, you're still gonna have to deal with them. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well,
On a universe, I'm not telling you what to do.
yeah.
Eventually, we all still gotta. Everything is there for a reason: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I deal with
I
deal with all.
You gotta face.
No, absolutely. I deal with
You know,
all. That's balance. Light and dark exist. It's not telling one that it's evil and the other is good, but it's allowing to see all sides for what they are. What I'm saying is that it's cool with me to know who and what you are. But when you have a stance of perpetuating something that is what you want to be or what you want other people to perceive you to be, and it's the opposite of what you really are, then I know that that's smoke and mirrors.
And that's true. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Anyway, Drake, I know.
A lot of people need to know this is the last.
Yeah, but that's okay. We'll make a show on it.
This is a cycle.
Yeah, we'll make a show on it. But tonight I gotta make sure I get everybody on the line tonight, because every time I don't, I get it on the back lay. So I thank you for calling in. I get it.
I understand.
I thank you
I'll go more into this later on another show.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Wade 13, for calling in. I appreciate it. All right, peace.
All right, I'll give more intel.
Okay, going on to our next caller. 224-0917. You're on the line with Fleur Brune. Peace, family. 224-0917. You're on the line with Fleur Brune. Peace, family. Hello. 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 Are you there? 224? Hello? Are you there? Going.
Who else it?
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hey, peace.
Yes, hello.
What's good?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not much. So,
What's going on? What do you think about the topic
doing
tonight?
very good. Not one bad.
So who am I talking to?
I think it's the top. I think it opened my eyes to the Marco.
Hey,
I spoke with you a week ago.
Oh, yes, Marco. Hey, Marco.
M.Day. Yeah. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Well, I'm well.
I'm in and out, so I apologize if it's a little shaky.
That's okay. That's okay. So were we talking about the subject? What do you say?
Nothing. It just opened my eyes to a lot of things, like so on the past, like we spoke, and now you just open my eyes even more. So I just been maneuvering, so I mean, it's gonna help maneuver even better.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think what it is that the more that you know, the
Yeah,
more that you acknowledge, the more that you acknowledge.
It's crazy because
You coming in and out of Marcos. Marcos, you coming in and out. Marcos. Marcos.
I was so to the point I went.
Marcos, your phone is coming in and out. Marcos? I think he's in a hot spot. Marcos? Marcos? You there? Hello? I hear you. You coming in and out.
Yeah. Yes, hello.
Yes, I hear you now. I hear you better. Can you say what you were saying? We missed what you were
Hello?
saying. Yeah, we hear you. Can you say what you were saying, Marcos?
Nothing. I was saying I had a dream not the other night, but 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And about because I used to try to sleep with my phone next to me, and I fell asleep in the living room with my phone next to me. I was in the spirit world, visiting my sister was in the dream. This thing, I all white, red eyes, and it just sister knew it was coming, said something about it, and then it just came with it. I had my uncle, and he said that he
Marcos,
and then something and stuff like that. When I woke, I wasn't on the floor. I was still in the chair, and I was in the back. And
Marcos, you're coming in and out. I can't hear you.
yeah,
I couldn't hear you, Marco.
yeah. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you better now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. The signal is the reason why. I apologize for this.
Don't apologize. Sometimes the phones get glitchy. You don't have to apologize for that. Sometimes, I heard you clearly last time. Sometimes it's a matter of just your spot, wherever you are, glitching out in a little bit. But stay on the line. Maybe it'll get a little clearer later, Marcos, and I'll open you back up, okay? All right. Peace, Marco. I couldn't really hear Marco. I'm sorry. All right, let's go to the next caller. If you're calling in the line, I saw Jay ask the number. It's 515-6. Thank you. Selma's on it. 515-605-9881. And if you're on the line, please press the number 1 if you have a question or a comment. Press the number 1. A lot of times you get on the line and you forget to press the number 1 and you want to talk. So make sure you're pressing the number 1 if you want, because I see a question mark pop onto my screen and it means I'll pick up your call. If you don't press number 1, I never know to pick it up because you don't have number 1. So if you want to have a comment or a question, make sure you push the number 1 so that I come to you. Okay? So I'm going to take the next caller. Let's see. 313-3950. You're on the line with Flirt Room. Peace, family. Peace.
Hello?
Peace, C-Star.
Pete, this is Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer.
Wow, from Detroit.
Hi, D-Town in the house. What's up, Jennifer? Pretty girl. What's good?
What's up? What little cipher in the house?
One of the ciphers in the house. What's up? What's good? I haven't heard from you in the longest time. I don't think
I haven't called in a long time.
you haven't. It's been a while, like a minute.
I haven't. It has. So I have two. So, okay. The first thing was Saturday. And I was outside with my neighbor. And she was talking to me. I got really distracted because I was looking up in the sky. I'm a Pisces.
Oh, beautiful, dreamy. Always heads in the cloud, like my daughter. Yes.
Right. So I'm looking up and I see something. It's like, it looks like, and it's just going straight. It's just going. And I'm thinking it's an airplane. So I'm outside with my neighbor. So notice this. She's like, well, what's going on? You don't see. Like, see what? I'm like, you don't see that thing moving right there in the sky is really like that. So it's moving to clouds. I'm like, I'm the whole thing to her the whole time, like, don't see it. She's like, no, I don't see it. So once it goes in the clouds would disappear.
Okay.
In my head, I'm thinking, is that a cloud or a chemtrail? To another one, the whole disappeared. But she saw it. She said, she was like, the clouds disappeared.
But she didn't. But she didn't see the crap.
Yeah,
but she didn't
see what was going through it.
Okay, she didn't see it. She's on a different frequency. Remember, you can be standing side by side with someone. If they don't match the frequency of the craft, those beings on the craft, you match them. That's why you saw them. It's a hologram. Only special people see special crafts. You have to match the frequency of the beings and the craft, or you have to be permissible in that frequency to allot for even acceptability of seeing something like that. So she's just not. She's she's just not about that life. You may not even know what she is. She may be, you don't even know. She could be
freaking out the cloud.
Yeah, she could
I don't
be.
know what you're talking about.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yeah.
And you saw that was that in Detroit?
Okay.
That was in that was in your neighborhood. You saw the craft
Right above my house.
Okay. I know that's right.
Right. So the second thing is I had a thought because I take baths quite frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking, because we were talking about mirrors and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, some people might have chrome, silver,
Oh.
platinum, whatever
Yes.
fixtures. So I was sitting in and I saw my reflection, and I'm like, if I cleanse and I heal and I, bliss fixtures, because I can see my reflection affecting me in any.
Well, you keep coming in and out in two? You're coming in and out, Jennifer. Say that again. Say that last part again.
Oh, I was the fixtures in the lot of the platinum and the chrome, they have reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be protecting myself in a certain type of way? Because I do cleanse and heal my water before I get in, but when I sit down, I see my reflection in my fixtures. And
You're right.
Is it something I should be doing to protect myself?
I never even thought of that. See, I'm grateful you even stated it. Yes, you should clear it. You should clear that. Put seawater, clear your space, because again, that's a reflective. Anything reflective is something that something can see in. Why do you think they have looking glass? Why Project Looking Glass is literally that. They can see through anything that's reflective. Even if you have a witch chasing someone down, if you ever see those old witchy movies, you ever see witchy movies? And the witches are always looking in their crystal balls, but they're able to see them through some sort of reflective thing. Either the person's looking in water, they're looking through a mirror. They see the person via those reflective. You're absolutely correct. I never even thought of that. You're right. So at the same point, you need to clear those reflective surfaces. You can easily just smudge your entire bathroom. I think that would be helpful. And also maybe wash things surface-wise with sea salt. Clear off the surfaces to make it less permissible. So even if they're able to see, nothing passes through. That's deep. But you see how our whole society is based in infiltration? Our whole society is based in infiltration.
Yeah.
From the fixtures in your bathroom. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Because, I mean, we think to ourselves, we take nice baths, we have all these beautiful chrome, silver, wonderful, beautiful fixtures in our bathroom, and meanwhile, Cadillac says put some Florida water on it. I agree. Get some Florida water, pour it on that fixture. Yeah. But they can still.
I mean, it just dawned on me, and I'm like,
that's smart.
What the heck?
Yeah. And if you think of it, if we lived more in our naturopathic way, we didn't have fixtures like that when we lived in our villages. We had wood, we had bamboo, we had stones that weren't necessarily reflective, lava stones. We're utilizing a lot of reflective surfaces.
I've even seen copper.
Copper, exactly.
Every reflective, every pictures. I have pictures in my house in the glass. Like this is like I can't cover everything in my house. It's like, what do I do?
You can't. You have to clear. You just have to clear your space and allow for zero permissibility of anything crossing through. They can look. There's not much you can do. Yeah. They can look, but you want to make it so something is unable to actually permeate through. Clearing your space also is very good, but also being mindful not to be too cleansed. Because I talked to a young lady, and she was clearing too much. Remember, just like if we have our little ones, right? Our little ones walk around, and when they're little, us as mommies are like, oh my gosh, their hands are going to get dirty. Oh my gosh. But we realize that the more that they're exposed to germ-wise is the more efficient and their immune system will be less compromised based on the fact that we've already inoculated them with dirt. Okay? It's the same spiritually. You have to have a certain amount of spiritual dirt that inoculates you, that makes you less susceptible for attacks or infiltrations. If you're too clean and shiny, just think of you walking around out in the world of dirty, dastardly beings who see you walking around as a shiny, beautiful light being that looks permissible. You look like a piece of meat for them. You look like food. You look like a source of food. Look at that bright light.
Right.
Okay? So you got to be careful with that, because spiritual inoculation is necessary in order to disallow for also infiltration. I'm not saying you have to do dirt, but don't be so aesthetically cleansed that you leave yourself susceptible for bad guys. Because if you take like hand sanitizer and you clear your hands of with hand sanitizers, that's why I don't let my little ones use it. You kill not only the bad guys, but you kill the good guys. So now when you touch something and it's mostly
Good
bad
guys.
guys, yeah, you don't have any good guys to fight the fight because you already destroyed everybody. So keep your body balanced. It's okay to be cleansed when it's necessary, but don't OD on it, because you'll make yourself more susceptible to infiltration based on the fact that you're looking like a shiny diamond walking in a mucky water, looking for, anything that's looking for opportunity will look for something a little shinier that they'll take out.
Right.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is. It is. Makes complete sense.
Listen, the future.
Thank you. I
you-
mean, that was.
Thank you, Jennifer. You alerted us to now. Now we realize that there's another dastardly type of issue, but it's good to know, because again, I wouldn't have thought about it, but we can clear the space enough that you're not going to discontinue beings from looking, but you can make it so they can't come through. Thank you for that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mama.
Thank you.
Love you, Mama. Take care. Peace.
Appreciate it.
That's our own Jennifer, pretty girl Jennifer. I call her pretty girl because she looks like a model. She does. She does. She's very unique, beautiful, very beautiful look to her. Okay, so let's take our next caller. Hold on. 302. Did I? Oh. These numbers look familiar. You know the moment when you get out of count? Let's see. Remember, if you're calling in 515-605-9881, make sure you call in. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. I don't know if I took this call before. I'm going to see if I did. Oh, maybe I did. Oh, it just threw itself out. Okay. If anyone's calling, make sure you push the number 1 if you have any questions. Dial the number 1 so that I pick up your phone call rather than waiting. This is hard because I don't know whose number I just picked up. I'm going to do this. 214-0525. I don't even know if I picked you up before. Flurbur's a little sleepy today. 214-0525. Did we talk already?
Peace.
Peace.
This is Jay Flower.
Hey, Jay Flower. Peace. You popped in the call line like you had been there, but I couldn't recognize your number. What's good, C-Star? I just want to cipher. Cipher's in the house.
Yeah, this is a different number. This is a different number I'm calling you on.
Ooh.
You take my number. It just freaks me out because this is
What's going on with my? You're coming in and out. It's weird. Everybody's coming in and out. I think we're in different dimensions tonight. This is weird.
Yeah, I'm noticing it on my end too.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what's going on.
Remember, we've been traveling. If you've done the traveling with us, so it's probably the permeations into the different timelines that's causing a little bit of the little differentiation in the sounds, little glitches. So
Let me go close.
What'd you say, Jay? Jay?
It's not gonna work, I don't think, because it's pretty. Can you hear me fine?
I hear you, but as soon as you stop talking, it goes like out. So just do like sound like the tall whites when they talk. The tall white aliens are like, "This is my name." No, I can hear you. Go ahead. We'll see if it works.
That's exactly how it sounds too.
That's what they do when they talk.
I just wanted to I just wanted to bring up the paper that I'm writing for one of my classes about is there clones of humans as
Say that one more time, Jay.
So my paper is about, is it wrong to produce clones of humans as a form of reproduction?
I remember you talked about this. Yes, I remember you said you were going to do that. How's it going? Is it ethical? Is it moralistic?
Going really good.
My lights are flickering.
Really shocked by that is being released, but it's that to produce human clones of parents, so 3 or 4 people can be parents to one clone. Same sex sperm and eggs can now produce things like that. I'm just taking an observatory stance on it.
But you do
based off of hermeticism.
I love that you're doing this, and I love that you're studying this and you're able to actually talk about it and see it from a different perspective. But one thing I say is that that more than 2 parents can parent a child. Did you know that genetically? Had you ever heard that before in science?
I knew that but I don't think I've heard that. I know that actually I have heard that. I have heard it because if it's a man, like 2 men,
well,
they can function the same DNA.
Well, I will tell you something that most people don't talk about, that I know from being a clinician studying heredity and genetics. If you have, let's say, Jay, you had a boyfriend when you were, first time you had sex, right? And you had unprotected sex with him. And maybe I shouldn't use you. You don't want me to use you as an example. Let me use somebody else. Let's use a fandom person. Because I'm getting a little saucy and it's not appropriate.
I have a reputation. Teacher, I don't.
Okay, let's use another fandom person. So let's say Jill, a woman named Jill. She's about 18 years old. She has sex with a gentleman. It's her first time having sex. She does not use contraceptives. He releases himself. He ejaculates inside of her. Okay, nothing really comes from that. She sleeps with him like that, maybe numerous times without pregnancy. Okay, she goes on with her life. Later on, she meets another gentleman. She meets him. They have unprotected sex and she becomes pregnant. They're happy about it. They have this beautiful baby and the baby comes out. When they do the DNA of the baby, they find that there's a little bit of junk DNA, which is not really junk. But as the baby gets a little older, she's noticing something different about this child. She's seeing remnants of her ex that was her first boyfriend in this child. Not only is she seeing remnants, she's noticing that his behavioral, like this ex that she has, was a phenomenal fine artist. He could draw anything. This baby, as it grows up, has the ability to be phenomenal in art that both of them do not have, and it's not in their family. This baby also has a hearing deficiency in the same ear, which is an undeveloped ear valve that happens that they were trying to correct, that neither one of her husband or herself had that genetic anomaly, but she denoted from knowing her ex that was one of the reasons he had surgery when he was 4 or 5 years old, that he denoted to her during their after pillow sex talk when she had the conversation with him. Now, in the clinician field, we know for a fact that every time a man ejaculates inside of you, women store DNA. We don't throw it away. We store and we keep what we like. The body keeps and stores certain kind of DNA, stores it in archive, what we consider to be an archive storage locker within us. Whenever we give birth to a child, we go into the archives, and if something is permissible with a new partner, we add a little extra with mates that we've accumulated DNA from. So every time you've had sex with a man without condoms, you have the potentiality within the 1 or 2% reasoning, that window of bringing in the third, first, 20th man, whoever it is, within your genome of a child and the offspring that you give later on. And that's fact.
Wow, that's very...
Jay, where are you? Jay? Where'd Jay go? Jay?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Very interesting. I was not aware of that. I didn't really think about things to make sense.
Mm-hmm. So the cloning that we think is something new is not really quite that new. And having 3 or 4 genomes in one baby, which people think is really horrific, is what most women do to this day without even acknowledging it.
Yeah, and I was because thinking like, okay, initially I was like, human cloning is wrong, but then I thought about it, I'm like, I went on the stand from the perspective of universal law, it is intrinsically risky to use human cloning as a form of reproduction.
Jay, what did you say? The phone keeps coming in and out. Should Jay say that one part again? Say that again, Jay.
Okay. The position I took on the matter,
yes.
I said from the universal law, it is intrinsically risky to use as a form.
Wow, she's coming in and out. This is a great conversation. Oh, Blog Talk. What is up with this?
Hold on a second.
Okay.
1 minute. Let me see if I'm disconnect. Hold on.
Okay. This is crazy. This is a great conversation. Jay's actually doing a paper on this. I love this. Is this a thesis? Is this your thesis? I love this. And for all you C-stars who like to have sex with multiple men, just know that your children and your offspring will have little remnants of each one of that man that you've had sex with. That's why I tell you, don't let him release the Kraken between your Stargate, because if you don't like his criteria and his lineage, you may give birth to him later via another partner who actually brings a child to fruition, and then you have characteristics of an ex that you did not like the lineage and you didn't have, it's adverse to you. So I'm just saying, be careful with that. It's a fact. Be careful who you allow to enter your Stargate, because they will always have the potentiality to bring forth a bit of themselves in another offspring. It's not as much an anomaly as people think, and it happens all the time. And I see it with people's children. Where are you, Jay? Jay, you still there? Jay, where are you? It kicked you off. Jay, call back. The phone is kicking her off because she went into something deep. See, Jay? Jay, they just kicked you off. Call back, Jay. Get Jay Flower back on here. That's crazy. Anytime we get in a deep conversation, especially about cloning, see, I told you, whenever we bring up cloning, you already know what they do. They try to kill me just from bringing up the cloning center. And now they kicked off RJ Flower off of here. But don't worry, can't stop, won't stop. She's about to call back in anyway. So what's your nano? Jay, where are you? You didn't call back. Oh, there she goes. I think this is her. Okay. Jay, is this you? Let's see if she called back.
Thank you for letting me call back.
Oh, there it goes.
I think that this is better now.
Yes, that's better. Hey, Jay.
What I did from Wi-Fi call conversation or whatever it is, the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi calling. I just disconnected from it, so it should be
Good.
better.
Good. It does sound better. I'm so grateful. Yes. Yes. Okay, let's continue the conversation.
Yay.
Please go on again. It so rudely interrupted you. Say what stance you took and why you took that stance.
Okay, so initially I said that human cloning should not be done, but I know that cloning isn't anything. It's been going on in multiple for aeons, you know? So I can't necessarily say it's wrong. As a person, I don't necessarily believe in wrong. You kind of said I'm doing. Is it wrong to produce human cloning for reproduction? And off of, like, I'm observing that be a hermetic philosophy and off hermetic principles. So the thing I took on this matter is from the philosophy to use human as a form of reproduction.
You coming in and out. I hold on, Jay. Hold on, Jay. I don't know if it's the speakers. You still coming in and out. Hold on. Okay, Jay, talk. Let me hear you now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, keep going. Let me see if it intermittently. I know it's annoying, and I apologize. Again, you know, my show. I've got paranormal things going on every week, so it is what it is at this point. Okay, so you took it as a non-ethical stance, as you don't believe that human cloning is appropriate for utilizing it for reproduction purposes.
I said that it's intrinsically risky because there are some people that can benefit from using like IV, in vitro, and different things like that. But I think it's very risky.
I can agree with that stance. I can agree. It's risky by whom though? Because there's a lot of beings that clone. Is it risky with the ones that maybe lack the integrity and are doing it without maybe the technology to make it efficient enough to properly be done? Or do you think that doesn't matter?
Well, 90 seconds of hermetic principles. So I'm going in on the 7 principles of truth as far as Hermes Trismegistus is concerned,
Okay.
which are mentalism, polarity, cause and effect, correspondence, gender, vibration, and rhythm.
Okay.
And I think that one of the most effective arguments for this case of it being very risky is 60 seconds. Let me find it. The 3 principles.
Okay, so I said that
Mentalism is all is mental. Therefore, everything in the universe starts as mental expression. Thoughts are the catalyst to manifestations within the physical world. Foremost, be accountable for all that you create, being responsible for all that you think.
I agree. It would be violation of that. I agree.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I want to get your point of view on this.
No, I agree that would be questionable if we're dealing with something having to take responsibility for something you're creating and doing it in a way that would lack that integrity. We're creating something and not taking full responsibility for how it shows up in the world or how it, what it's for.
And then I'm not going in on like the consciousness of the clone put.
The phone is still doing this. This is pissing me off. The phone is still glitching in and out. You there, Jay?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Jay?
here.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
This that I had was the principle of polarity.
Okay. And polarity? Can you?
And my point about this, yes, polarity pretty much explains the concept of opposite. That the maxim explains that what can potentially be bad, cause and principle that explain what happens when your mental expressions manifest on the plane of existence. The is simply unidentified causation. So pretty much there is good to cloning, which means like, okay, parents can now have
I lost you. This is so.
in that.
Okay. You know what, Jay? Can I call you on?
Okay, I'm gonna get off because, you know, I know it's a whole conversation to have, and you know, I don't want to keep on.
It's an awesome conversation.
I don't know if you can hear me how well.
Yeah, I love the conversation. This is actually a great conversation. I just think the phone is glitching out, and it's not even allowing it to be permissible. And I don't even know if it has to do with the cloning or just the Blog Talk being a bastard. I'm ruining the whole night. But I think it's wonderful that you're covering this. I think your perspective is amazing. I think it's very unique. And I would love to hear how it finally comes fully. Like, I want to hear the full synopsis of what you come in at the end when you finish your paper.
Okay, well, I'll to you so I can get like some critique and.
No, I'm not here.
Oh
no, you don't need critiquing. This is your own unique stance. My perspective is my perspective will be different based on my own ideologies or my principles, the way I've been, been conditioned. But yours is very unique to you. You don't need critiquing. You're unique. That's why you're writing the paper based on your own opinion, because your opinion matters. I can listen and observe, and maybe tell you what I feel, but you're critiquing. You don't need a critiquing. You're fine.
Well, thank you. Once I'm done, this was just the rough draft, like the draft. It was just an assignment, so I'm gonna keep you guys posted and for taking my phone call. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Peace, Jay Flower.
All right, peace.
I wish Jay Flower come through. I have a lot of expletives to Blog Talk. I have a lot of expletives that I could do right now, but I think it's beyond me. Personally, I think what's happening, and I think exactly someone stated it. I think many of us are traveling, and I think we permeated into different timelines. I think some of us are not even in the same timelines. I think every time I talk to somebody who's not in the timeline, because remember, I'm in a timeline right now that is thebomb.com. I appreciate the timeline that I'm in right now. And I'm thinking I would like to stay, but there's even better timeline. So I think what's happening is every time I talk to someone, they're in different timelines. I think that's where I'm getting the permeations. I really think that's it. I really don't know that it's Blog Talk, because we usually talk and I can hear them clearly but we're traveling now. So we're getting interception because I'm no longer, or I'm outside of the normal paradigm and timeline that I normally exist in. Okay, so let's take another caller. Oh, okay. I'm going to take this next caller. It's 1111111. Peace, family. Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Who is this?
Hello?
Is this Barry Littleton? Hello? Barry?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes. Are you kind of coming in? Hey, Barry Littleton. What's good?
Oh, boy, you caught me by surprise. I was like, man, I was on speaker, and I said, that can't be he talking to.
Yes. It
what's
was
up?
it was on a 111 call. You know, I can't see the number call, so it was a 111. What's going on, Barry?
Yeah, 111. Everything's been 111. The angel numbers have become.
That's right.
Everything's been 1111, 1, and constantly.
That's right.
The past 2 weeks.
It's
You know,
been
our angelics try to communicate with us all sorts of ways.
it's
Surprised me to hear you say that.
we're in that timeline.
Hey,
Barry. Barry.
hello. Oh,
Oh my gosh.
are you there?
Yeah, but you're coming in and out. This is crazy.
You're having a lot of technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah, well, last week too. Last week they just shut down all the show. They shut down everything. They shut down because the conversation was
I can hear
going.
you.
Yeah, they shut down last week's show on YouTube. Then they shut down the blog
I
talk.
can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you again now. You're coming in for a minute.
This is wild.
You know, I think that it's because that something that needs to really be addressed right now
Mm-hmm.
is to really string attacks. And I'm trying to help a lot of people with this lately. In terms of what these beings are doing, people, and I will speak especially to, you know, like an audience enlightened. You have a lot of warriors out there protect themselves. So the dark forces have to get you to erupt your emotions so they can feed. How do they
Yes.
strain your shields?
Yes.
They do it in a second way. What they do is they start up to the energy fields of your loved ones. All right, they start doing that to you, just acting a bad way, to start thinking negative thought forms. So without in your shields, or just put a strain on them, and they'll do that in the way it's normal. A lot of financial stress. These little disasters that'll seem to come up one after another. So when they build enough momentum, energy from your thoughts, your negative thoughts, they start using your own pineal gland as a wormhole to manifest in the third dimension.
Yes.
And at that point is when they start you start using these disasters, these financial disasters, and your loved ones and people near you to trigger you, to make you susceptible to the triggers. That's what the holes in your energy field will
I
do.
agree.
And then they'll use, of course, you just mentioned sexuality, but, you know, ego is another big one.
Oh, yes.
Someone that you and I are both, someone you and I are both aware of, that just seek help from me the other day. They're always asking for help. And, you know, when I actually tell them something, I'm telling them they're being attacked, they're going into, they start saying, well, my angels are corrupt.
What?
Your own guardian angels are corrupt. What gives you that idea? And that's the premise that they're going with.
Wow.
And they say, and when I'm trying to protect myself, I just go to my own divine overself because I am a God. Okay,
Oh.
if you want to believe that. I said, but that obviously doesn't work. I said, I've watched your ass being attacked the last 2 years repeatedly, and you succumb to more than half of them. So your technique isn't working.
Mm. I know they were. I'm sure they weren't too pleased.
This is somebody that's well known. And I see them giving advice to other people about how to protect yourselves, and they can't protect themselves.
Wow.
So that to me is just, you know, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that right now. A lot of people making claims, and they've never dealt with these beings really. Had one of them really come up on them, or someone like even me, you know, when you're a child, you have one of these, even a disincarnate person, really attack you real good, so it'll scare you into not using your abilities.
It does.
That is another good tactic they use. They jump on those that they know can see. So anyway, that's just one thing. So the next stage, the thing is, so pay attention if you have either spirits in your house that want you out, a ghost, or some of these negative inorganic beings. They're good at getting in the plumbing of your house. I've been seeing them hiding out in people's closets quite a bit.
Closets.
Right?
That's
And
why
if
you
they
should keep
get to
closets
your
closed.
house, so the next thing is they jump in the fluids of your car.
Oh, we talked
They
about
start
that.
messing with the fluids of your car.
We talked about that. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. They're
I
diabolical.
mean, these are just things that they do. Yeah, it is diabolical and it's insidious. And they do this from several different areas so strategically and silently, you're unaware it's put a strain on your shields. You're unaware you become susceptible to these multiple triggers.
Because they
They're throwing
overwhelm
your
you.
way.
Yeah, they overwhelm
They're
you.
throwing,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm seeing that more and more right now. And people not thinking, they're so busy shielding themselves, which is good, but they're not protecting their homes. They're not protecting their loved ones. They're not protecting a situation before they even go into it. I'm a traumatic brain injury survivor, so
Yes.
my emotions sometimes get erratic, and I don't like people's BS. So I got to make sure that I have evaluated a situation before I go into it, because there could be potential triggers out of idiots.
That's
that are there.
true. That's
And I
true.
was an anger management. I was an anger management trainer for years,
Yeah.
and a lot of that crap didn't work when I got TBIs. I had to deal with these fools.
You're getting triggered left and right. Which
It's the
side?
same thing with dealing with these negative inorganic beings. So how they're straining our shields from different areas, because these people are so God aware, and they're shielded. They have to go outside, second ring, and that's and then they start feeding in on the ego. Like the person I was describing, they're asking me for help.
Yeah.
And then when I say that they're under attack, they started making a bunch of excuses, and suddenly their ego kicked in. I said, you have to release the ego if you want me to even be able to help
It's
you.
true. It's
And
true.
immediately they start saying, I know this, I know this, I know that.
You don't know everything.
You know what I mean?
You don't know everything.
But I said, but none of that's stopping anything. You're under attack, and you're asking other people for help.
Exactly. So it means that you need
and
help.
more than that, I think you probably like feeling like the victim. Once you're aware of the dark forces, it's easy to become a wanted victim.
Well, yeah, not taking lack
Anyway.
of self-awareness. Well, lack of self-awareness allows for more inception, because if we're not aware of our own idiosyncrasies or our own shadows, it makes it very difficult to accept help or any sort of resolvement. Because yes, victimhood is another form of the MK Ultra conditioning that they place on people, so that those who are not extremely overtly aggressive are really overtly passive, and take a passive victim stance as another program. That's another programming they're perpetuating in the Matrix. So you take one person who's overtly too aggressive, but then you don't realize on the other spectrum of that, on the opposite end, is just as much a very low field behavioral pattern of behavior, which is loathing, victimhood, woe is me, Debbie Downers, things like that. So we have to address that too. We always want to address the aggressors, but we never want to talk about the passive people who sit there and sit in victimhood, and you can't say anything to them, because if you say anything to them, they'll accuse you of being abusive to them, or accuse you of not being empathetic to them.
Yeah, agreed. Well said. It's that ego that leads to self-pity, and self-pity is the enemy of all warriors. And once you get so entwined in that, it keeps you more anchored and not multidimensional.
It's true.
Something else I want to say, because I don't want. I try to keep it somewhat real, and I don't want to burn up any more time.
Keep it real. You're fine. You can stay on the line as long as you want, Barry Littleton.
Oh, that's very nice of you, but I wouldn't. Your audience will be. What is that? At the Apollo night when they're throwing carrots at people. I don't want that.
They won't be throwing carrots. They'll throw like fruit. They'll grow grapes. They'll grow grapes at you and cherries and all that good stuff. Keep it coming. Electric Goddess said keep it coming. They want you to stay. So go ahead, Barry. Bring it out. Bring it on.
Oh, that's nice. My computer, so that's very nice. I appreciate that. Well, what I want to say is, we've not spoken publicly. I've not been on this show since your conference. And I did a video over it, but I really want people to know how much effort you put into that and how nice it really went off. That was a nice event.
Thank you.
The information that was presented was good. You had just a few amount of speakers, and you had some breaks in between, and it was really good quality.
Thank you.
Now you had some dark practitioners trying to attack people, trying to get there.
Yeah,
So we know that they were trying to mess up the runway, but they didn't mess with the conference itself.
they didn't.
And it was very well done. And a couple of nights ago, about a week ago, I was on Jimmy Church's Fade to Black.
Oh yes,
And I
Botica.
listened
Somebody
to
said that.
at the
Botica
very
said it.
beginning and talked about that. And I want to give Jimmy a shout out because he's very aware of the melanin dominant issue in the community,
Good.
the UFO and New Age community. And so I said that I brought up conference and I said, I know that I appreciate you addressing that because I know you took heat for it. And he said, yes, I did. But I'll tell you, man, if I want to know, he really went into it and he said those conferences and he sees this problem with there not being any melanated people there, whether as attendees or speakers,
Yes.
especially as speakers.
Yes.
He said that publicly. So I just wanted people to know that and check out that interview. It's like Fade to Black about a week and a half ago.
Absolutely.
He just texts me and says, "Oh, will you be on the show?" So I did it.
It's cool.
But,
I love it.
Anyway, I wanted to give you a shout out for that. And
I
all the
appreciate
people there, a real shout out because there were some very real people there that were super gifted. And I want to say thank you to everyone that was involved with that.
Absolutely. It really, listen, I really appreciated doing it. I really, it was something that was in the mix and in my bucket list. And it was such a beautiful feeling to actually bring something to fruition that brought a lot of us together in a way that I didn't know was plausible. So I'm really appreciative of that. And also, I love that you brought up the fact that there were so many attacks coming left and right that disallowed so many people from being able to attend. And not even that, what most people don't know, or some do know, is that my mother is still in the hospital. And I know that one of the attacks affected my mother's health. And the person who attacked my mother, which many of you know, which I just suspect is him, when he do an attack, and this is something we need to realize also, is that when you pony up your spiritual modalities and you have a wonderful, strong auric field outside of yourself that encumbrances you like a shield, what happens is that if they can't target you and hit you, it'll ricochet to someone who's in the frequency that can be most infiltrated. My mother was already somewhat not the healthiest, and also the frequency that hit her was in that same vibration of what she would be able what would be able to perpetrate in her field. So though it won't come at you, you put a shield up, that ricochet will hit someone who's in the vibration of whatever attack is coming, and it happened to be my mother. And it's a shame that you can have somebody that you've known for 12 years and they're so busy being venomous and jealous or, in their feelings that they would throw out an attack, not realizing that it would harm someone's parent. And,
or in love.
Or, well, it's nothing wrong with someone having a healthy attraction for you. But if you're not in reciprocation to it, and you let them know, I don't think it warrants for you to attack them or to attack them to the point where you harm their family members. So I say to them, touche, mon frère. So, right back at you.
Wow. Yeah, it was interesting because, I tell you, I don't normally say where I'm from, but I'm from the air capital. No doubt about it. Where most all the planes are made and where those factories started.
Yeah.
So we got planes up in here.
Yo.
The plane I was on stalled, as the engine stalled, on the runway before we could ground. So I missed my connecting flight to from Atlanta to, or I almost didn't make it. They were giving me another flight that would have put me there at 6 p.m. the next day.
It's crazy.
So I would have missed most of the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. So there was major problems getting there, and I knew there was things trying to deter me. They kept telling me, "Well, we can just send you back to Wichita, and you won't have to do." Well, no, I'm not going back there.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so sorry.
Absolutely.
It was very interesting. We'll send you back here, send you back there. No, I'm not doing that. And then on the way back, the plane never showed up.
That's
There's
crazy.
like 60 people sitting out there, and the plane didn't show up because there was engine problems with this plane from a completely different airline. So I had to do another transfer. It took me, over a day to get home. So that's, so it's little things like that. Just next time we know that they will attack the runway because they can't get to the actual conference itself.
Yes.
Which is sad that there's that much energy is being put into that. It really is.
Well, it also shows how
But it is what it
diabolical.
is.
Yeah, it's really sad because it also shows how diabolical someone is, and that's why I say we should always be mindful of the relationships we forge. I mean, I wouldn't have never known it would have come to blows like this, but at something that was such an important pinnacle moment in the contactee field, especially of people of color, just the fact that this occurred at a time it just is sad. It's sad, and it's a testament that we need to be. I need to be more mindful. I need to be more diligent about the things or the way that I put myself out here. And what it is. Like I said, I had my ponies and my shield up, but my shield protected me, and it wasn't something that was able to protect my mother. And she's still suffering from this energetic attack that I personally think this being set out for me and hit my mother.
Yes, I'm sorry to hear that. I definitely wish her nothing's good healing.
Absolutely. I'm grateful. Like I said, in this timeline, she's recovering beautifully right now. But she's been, as many of you know, she was in the week of the conference. The week before the week of the conference is when my mother went to the hospital, and she's still there. And this is 40 days, over 40 days after the conference that she's still in the hospital recovering. And that's why we have to be careful hanging out with dark practitioners. Yeah, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. But we have to be careful of the dark practitioners. If you're hanging out with people who do chaotic magic, if you're hanging out with people who are known to have very secretive behind closed doors, you need to be mindful of beings who are secretive. There were a lot of signs that I didn't ignore, but I didn't think were permissible for me to even put in question. But believe me, these things were showing up previously. Hold on, family. My laptop is failing. And listen to this. My thing was so full, and now. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this will work. Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, I think I'm good. All right. Yeah. So I'm grateful that you talked about this, Barry, because a lot of times I forget. You're absolutely right. And low field thinking causes energetic, what do you call them? You call them, whenever you put energy out there, thought forms. Low thought forms create energetic beings that end up growing and creating a life, like almost like you writing a horror story of your own.
Yeah, and when they start manifesting, like I said, it's not. You don't see them immediately. Most of the time, you don't just see a quote-unquote demon or whatever standing there, or even an orb. What just starts happening is these financial disasters. And if people start attacking you for all these various reasons that make no sense. And all these are just different ways to strain your shields. To create just a few holes to where they can trigger you in a way. And I want to say this again to all these beautiful souls out here listening to us. We are maybe on a prison planet, caught in a reincarnation cycle, but nonetheless, you're extremely powerful beings, immortal souls.
Absolutely.
And in that way, when you get really angry and you flare your emotions and they get that out of you, you might not just be feeding the one or two shadows near you or the one or two negative inorganic beings near you. You are strong enough and have enough energy and enough of your consciousness is outside of your physical body that you are feeding maybe legions of these things.
Mm-mm-mm.
And there are legions of them going against you, trying to get you to flare up again so they can feed. I mean, it is that serious, and the people listening right here are that powerful. And I think that needs to be addressed, whether we're in a prison planet or not.
Absolutely. Creating triggers, triggering you to set you off. That's and if we know this, we need to just be more resilient and also much more self-aware. If you know that certain words trigger me. They used to. And I remember in my mind just knowing that, having to recondition my mind thought so that when I heard or observed those statements being said before me, that I would disallow any infiltration in my mind body to react any way adverse. And I had to train myself. People will utilize all kinds of things to trigger you, especially if they know your secret spot. But there are beings who know you better than you know yourself. That's why you have to have self-awareness. If you don't even acknowledge your shadows, like if I like to drop it like it's hot, drinking Hennessy on weekends, that's a shadow. Why is it a shadow? Because it's an aspect of myself that doesn't necessarily hold any moralistic or ethical compass that's healthy, but it's something I do as a vice. I don't do that. I'm just saying if I was, it's a vice. So if I acknowledge that that's something that I do, then when someone calls me a name like a whore or alcoholic, and that's a trigger, they're triggering me based on a truth that I'm not acknowledging about myself, that I feel about myself. Do you see what I mean? So we got to be very sure and self-aware of who we truly are in all forms, light and dark, because you have all aspects of yourself that exist every single time. So you're not just a light being like Yoga Tom. Yeah. Yoga Tom, we always talk about Yoga Tom chilling in the other room, eating mangoes. He's cool, but Yoga Tom, if the doorbell rings and the boogeyman's at the door, Yoga Tom can't defend himself. Yoga Tom does not have any natural remedies to deal with the boogeyman ringing his door. Yoga Tom is done. But, somebody, poor Yoga Tom. Yoga Tom. But, yeah, but every time, but if you have somebody who has an aspect of Yoga Tom, but also is able, due to the trauma that they dealt with as a child, of having to fight demons or people that are very low field because they had to fight them when they were younger, they create an aspect of themselves that is considered to be a shadow. But that shadow is also something that will allow for them to be activated to protect themselves if placed in harm's way. So that's why I'm saying a shadow, what may look in one angle to be negative, in another angle, it will be a protective modality to save your behind in case when case break glass. Okay? So that's all I'm saying.
Definitely. Shifting over to something else you were talking about,
yes,
that I think merits a lot of attention, was concerning the gray overlay.
Yes.
Okay, and how you were saying that a lot of people you notice that are having interactions with the grays are people that have substance abuse problems.
Absolutely.
I think that's interesting because I've noticed, the few people outside of maybe Peter Maxwell Slattery I've seen that claim to be contactees that have tattoos, they're always interacting with the grays as well.
Interesting.
And you and I have speculated a lot on how in the future that actually there will be, something that causes probably non-melanated people to turn into grays.
Yes.
From radiation exposure.
Yes.
I mean, that is definitely and you've got several grays coming here saying that.
It's
so
true.
I think it's just
it's true. Because it's only because they don't have the genetic dexterity to be able to overcome genetic damage from radiation. Remember, melanin kind of mutes any external gamma radiation, what have you, from incepting the cells. That's why remember I worked in a laboratory, that's why when you work in a laboratory, the majority of rats and mice that are worked on are stripped of melanin to make them more susceptible to infiltration in their genomes. So it just says that people who are lunar have to be careful because if they are exposed to a certain amount of radiation, their genomes are incapable because of the lack of melanin to be able to transmute or to mute the type of the type of assault that radiation would have on their genomes. So That's why I say to people, just be mindful, eat more, for those who are lunar, I always tell them to eat more chlorophyll based plants to, give them a form of melanin to allow for the assistance, because in the future, the sun, whether you consider it to be sun a simulated version or not, it's getting hotter. And you can walk outside. I'm in Florida. The heat is not normal, and it's causing people's skin to do something, even melanin dominant skin, to do something that it normally does not do. So it means that we're going to have a level of being radiated that will exacerbate even as a melanin dominant person, our ability to transmute it. But those who don't have much of it are going to have a harder time.
True. Somebody was commenting earlier about the electronics as well, and you were commenting how the gray overlay is connected to the electronics.
Yes.
I think that talking about what's called right now the quantum hologram of consciousness is very pertinent.
Yes, absolutely.
When I say that, when I say that, we have to realize that it is we're dealing with a divine field, but also some type of intelligence. And I mean that like a prime intelligence. And you have a lot of these civilizations and beings that no longer exist except for within that quantum hologram. That the Mako, that stores the information, which is the part of a black hole when the aperture, when you're going in, it creates that copy. Yeah. And they're saying a lot of the ancient civilizations, type 4 and beyond, are only still existing within that quantum hologram. Wow. And then when you start looking at type 4 civilizations, they start using wormholes as their prime source of power. So they become that. Now, when I'm seeing things like what I saw at the Isetti Ranch when I was there a year ago, this gentleman named Costas, he used to work with Dr. Greer, I guess. He was one of the people that helped, I guess, make the CE5 thing. Now, we all had to do, because of course at these conferences, and especially amongst the non-melanated community, now all of a sudden you have to be able to call in ships to prove you're a contactee. So you rig some crystal bowls and you go out there and call in ships so people can see iridium flares. And I had to lead one of these also, and I wasn't really into that. Right? I never done a sky watch, unquote. And each of us that was on the panel presenter had to do this. Now, Costas went the night before me, and he had a different technique, which he said everybody in there meditate with the earth and bring energy up from the earth, and then feeling it and passing it around the crowd, and then ejecting the light up. And you reproduced this on the roof
at the conference. At the conference, yeah,
with a small group, and y'all got results. And I got to tell you, being in the middle, I didn't think that you would, but it proved me wrong. You did. But anyway, this technique worked really good. And at the ranch out there, he got about 43, 44 ships showed up.
Wow.
That people could prove that we're not iridium flares. Now, I had to go the night after that. I'm like, damn.
That's a lot of pressure.
I want to do, and I was supposed to have. Well, I said, what if nobody shows up? And I got like something like 19 of them or something, which was cool. But I mean, it's not something I was into. But nonetheless, what I'm seeing is that collective consciousness of people, this prime intelligence is responding.
Yes.
It especially does it out there in Isetti. It did it on the roof of the castle over there.
Yes.
So I think that needs to be acknowledged. And when we start having these preconceptions of reptilians and grays and all this negative, it interferes with how this prime intelligence is interacting through our brains. And before I shut up, I'll say this. I was asking, so many people talking about the reptilians. I've been on several ships. I've never seen one. All right? I've never seen a gray. I've seen beings that were blue, look similar, but they weren't gray.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I started talking now, several hundred experiences. And a lot of them, they talked about reptilian contact. And I asked them, I say, because I'm into physical experiences, mine were physical. To be physically in the presence of one of these beings, what is it like? And when I asked that, they say, well, no, Barry, it was astral.
Okay. Okay.
And it's never very few that it's physical.
Huh.
So I'm just saying that a lot the media is influencing what a lot
It
of people
is.
are interpreting
David-
during the contact experience.
David Icke has done more damage to the intel of interaction with galactic beings than I feel he's done good. Why? It's because he's created a whole genre of obsession over beings that I personally know exist, but they are not necessarily the end all be all of galactic beings that are interacting with the majority of people who are contactees. So him perseverating on a concept of beings that exist here, yes. I personally think he's a governmental agent sent here to give a little truth, but put a whole lot of lies behind it in order to create a look this way, but something else is that way kind of phenomenon. This is my personal opinion. I may be wrong, I could be right, but it's my opinion. I personally think that there's a lot more insectilians and people are having more contact with mantis beings than is even being spoken about as well. So, remember me and you had the conversation that we still haven't found out, and it's one of the reasons I have something in common with Sonia Barrett. We both hear the cicada sounds, which we know are bug sounds, okay? And we know that that's associated with a group of insectoids that is interacting. Now, I'm down with the Andromedans. We also understand that I'm in contact with beings that are contactees that are friends of the Andromedans that work side by side, which are a form of which are a type of insectilian. Okay, so there are more insectilian type of beings that I know personally are interacting with people than is being denoted, spoken about, or televised.
Mm-hmm.
I personally know that. Even with some brown people walking around doing some sort of weird galactic movements with their bodies, I personally think that some of them are mixed with hybrid with a lot of the insectilians as well. That's another thing that's not spoken about.
Mm-hmm. Only you can I go completely deep with, so I'll do it, and the audience will have to just bear with me.
Okay.
But you talk about that sound that you've heard, the chirping sound.
Yes.
And I've told you before that to me, how I've heard people reproduce it, it sounds a lot like what the creature was doing from the movie Pumpkinhead.
Yes.
Now, every
yes.
time that creature came around in Pumpkinhead, you heard that caterpillar type of a sound.
Yes.
Now, here's what really got me. This was on Comet the other day. Oh, Lord, it was MeTV. I was doing bad. Anyway, on MeTV, the Pumpkinhead was on there, and I took a real good look and stopped it and took a look at the creature. I'll be damned if it's not some type of an insect.
See?
To the point that its legs gave it away. And to the point of where I'm actually looking up what type of insects are known to infest pumpkin patches.
Absolutely.
I mean, I just thought it's just interesting because I see a lot of things that parallels that come with what this whole thing is fascinating to me.
I mean,
The first being that came forward to me was an insectoid.
Yes.
Xandar.
Yes.
It sounded like Yandar, but Xandar. And it's one of the two beings that actually have given me names. But I did a little experiment on my YouTube channel.
Yes.
I put up these videos of Xandar and another one called Mana. These are two beings that I've gotten a lot of responses on, but especially on Mana, and Mana is an amphibious being.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to see, I put them up at the same time, which one got more likes and which one got more views.
Mm-hmm.
By far, Mana, the amphibious being, smoked Xandar.
Yes.
Despite the fact that Xandar was nothing but positive encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked like a grasshopper.
Yes.
Not a mantis, but a grasshopper.
Yes.
At least his head and face did. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, I love that. No, share. Don't you dare. No, and this is something that we need to discuss because, again, there's a uniform consensus in the Yeti community, the contacted community, that is based in reptilian conversation. Now, remember, I'm part of that too. But remember, my take with the reptilians is a little different. It's not necessarily in the same consensus as David Icke either. So I associate there's a group of there's different types of reptilians, and it's not all end all be all with one type of species. There's many different types. And I think a lot of times people limit the reptiles to being just lizards, lizzies. and they don't realize there's serpent beings. Like you had the picture, of Lisa Bonet and her sister, I said her sister because that's how she looks. Her daughter looked like her sister. She looks beautiful, and she had a serpent being on her arm, and that I associate with the Nega serpent line. So there is a lack of, because we have to go back to biblical conversations about the Adam and Eve and the serpent talking to Eve and convincing her to take a bite of the apple. Now we know this is all not necessarily literal. A lot of this is based in, terminology to give you like a symbolism, utilizing symbolism, semantics, to change certain terms, utilizing terms that mean other things. It's not exactly what it says. So we've had the serpent that's been demonized for eons now. And we have to take some consideration that why are we only talking about bipedal lizards and we're not talking about serpent type beings like in Conan the Barbarian, where what's his name? Remember what's his name with the deep voice? He always plays the brown man who played in Conan the Barbarian when he turned into a snake.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones turned into the serpent. Yeah, he was a serpent being. Yeah, and he was entraining people with his eyes. And we don't talk about there's beings here who have the glistening golden copper eyes that have that same quality. We don't talk about other beings. That's all I'm saying, is that there's too much emphasis on one type that's probably the least legitimate type of reptilian that people are in contact with than other types that are here. And along with a host of insectilians and amphibian beings, the Nomos, that the tribe, the Dargon tribe, talk about the Nomos, which are amphibian type of beings that are connected to the Mer family,
Yeah, I had a video of this Mer people that a lot of people liked. I was kind of surprised.
Oh.
I think that also when looking at the fact of when we start advancing consciously and really speeding up our vibration as not just entities but as a civilization also, that there's a time that we start going fast enough, our vibration might start becoming insectoid-like. And I've had to accept that because at first, my first experience is like a lot of the beings come and some of them were not physical, but I still felt a type of insectoid presence.
Exactly.
And I say that because of the buzzing that was around them a lot.
Exactly.
But now, I watched a Star Trek I mentioned to you recently, the original, and it's one where Loverboy Kirk got he was on a planet and he could hear this buzzing, and he says, he keeps hearing this buzzing, and he says, "There's an insect life down here," and they say, "No, there isn't, Captain." And they beam back up to the ship, and he's hearing it again, where he's sitting in his chair, sitting up there posing more than acting. But anyway, he hears the buzzing, and his coffee kind of stirs up, and suddenly there's this perfect, almost Pleiadian-looking, non-melanated woman there talking to him and saying that she'd been kissing him when he was unaware of it. And everyone else he's seeing is moving super slow. Mm-hmm. I mean, like standing still.
She sped him up.
Now, later on, of course, they were doing something to the ship, and they were going to destroy it. He had to stop it, and he made a tape and make sure Spock got it, saying that there's something wrong with the ship. They need to destroy this device. But when Spock puts it in, just this buzzing, like a bug.
Yeah.
Down like 500 times, he sees Kirk up there talking. I think that's the same thing for us as a frame of reference.
I agree.
When we start really speeding up our vibration.
I agree. And
we may start feeling.
Okay, we're back on, everyone. I'm sorry about that. I think if anyone missed it, we were just talking about, it was like the concept Barry was talking about insectilians and the show Star Trek with Kirk interacting with this little buzzing creature. But I said even with Tinkerbell and the concept of the fairies, they're very insectilian-like. Nobody references them to that, even though they have more of a quality of insectilians than anything else. So we have all these representation queens, bugging the phone. We use these reference terms that are referencing a type of insectilian species that we're more in common with than you think. And you think that everything is based in reptilians, but I told you, I personally know that the top tiers of our society in the Dark Cabal are worshiping and collectively partaking in the worship of insectilians. And that is more the case than reptilians. That's my opinion.
You know, when listening to Linda Moulton Howe, she goes over that document that was sent to Reagan quite a bit, and some other documents too. But one of them they call the different beings, and one of them they call transiloids. And she described them transiloids in the thing. It said they're these vicious insects, and they're supposed to come from Epsilon Eridani, which coincidentally Star Trek just announced a few days ago that that's where Vulcan is supposed to be, is in Eridani.
Oh,
They've
really?
never said that before.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Interesting.
I thought that interesting. But these insects are supposed to be from there. I've heard her talk about it a few times, and she has no images of them. And she says that any whistleblowers can tell me what these insects look like, please send me a sketch. I've heard her say it twice.
Interesting.
So I find that very interesting, and they're supposed to be the ones that hate humanity the most.
Wow.
And I'm just curious, what in the hell insect like Earth on it is it they look similar to?
Thank
I
you.
don't think it's the mantis.
No.
I do not believe it's the mantis.
No.
I think they're perhaps even what the Urantia book calls life carriers
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
They might
I think
look.
that
They might look like spiders. They might look like.
seeded your solar system. So where is that coming from? They got this light glowing coming from their mouths and coming from their head.
That's interesting.
What the hell is that all about?
That's interesting.
So
Exactly.
people read the Urantia book, which kind of sucks, but there's certain parts of that book that are valid, or at least worthy.
Okay.
And one of them is called. I advise everybody to look at that, the life carriers. I did a video on that, but I think it's valid when looking at what type of beings did the ones that actually help procreate planets, or are involved in the genetic makeup of planets that allows them to produce life.
Interesting.
Either or.
Interesting.
Sorry, be quiet.
No, I enjoy it. No. But we actually are at the end of the show, which rarely happens properly. Usually they cut me off before I get there. But Barry, I always enjoy when you come on. Such a knowledgeable, astute. Please check out Jimmy Church's